Hey, what is going on, guys? Happy Sunday to you. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the AV Experience. I'm pumped about tonight, man. We're going to have some fun. So we're excited that you guys are here. Jonathan's excited. Ryan will get there in just a little bit.
This is my excited face.
But yeah, man, we're going to have a blast. We're going to kind of catch up on some things. Yes, we'll probably mention M-Wave Chris. We're going to talk about some new technology and, of course, answer your questions. So if you got questions, drop those in the chat. We'll just star those and we'll just be answering those. We've had the past couple of weeks, we've had some really great guests on the channel, and we'll continue to do those in the future. I've already got some invites to some great folks, just waiting to hear back from them on their calendar and get them added. But tonight is literally all about you guys. And so if you've got some questions, drop those in the chat. And of course, super chats will get priority. So first off, how was you guys this weekend?
Jonathan, you were on vacation. You're going to go first.
Oh, we went to Lake of the Ozarks and just had some relaxation there. Did some camping this week. So did some boating, and the kids played in the lake. Well, I played in the lake. We did some swimming. It's nice.
Nice.
State park.
So when you say camping, do you have a camper, or are you talking tents? And
we got a little pop-up camper. It's a little small for our family of 6, but it still works for a couple more years.
Dude, that just makes for some good memories and good family time. That's awesome.
Yep.
Ryan, how about you?
I got hats that fit my enormous head. So that was very exciting.
Finally had that big head.
So that was awesome. My wife was embarrassed at how excited I was about hats that fit me. I played Green Thumb and have been trying to save a tree that's in my backyard that's experiencing some blight, but I think I got it under control, so that's good. I got 3 more. My JTR order came in, which is awesome. So 3 more 4,000s.
So you're up to 6.
No, I'm up to 5.
5 capital
real here. Okay.
4,000 you're left.
I'm not that crazy. I'm not, Mark or Scott crazy. I can't believe that Scott is really going down the path of getting a dedicated 200 amp service for his theater.
So does your room have that new JTR smell?
It does. So there is a new JTR smell, actually, because Jeff wraps and ships things so fast that you get the smell of fresh paint as you unwrap things. So there is a smell. So that was cool.
Nice.
We took the room out, and I was telling these guys this before we came on. Not the room out, the table out behind that, normally behind my couch. Huge difference. Huge difference. My wife looks at me like I'm crazy, but the perceived sound field from my surrounds is a lot better now because the table's not blocking anything.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've successfully rearranged my back. You know, it feels much better from the near field 4,000. It's been able to push me into alignment. You know, bulging disc no more. It's right back in there. So we're good there.
Chiropractor anymore, man.
No,
just crank it up.
No. You know, if you read an obituary that, you know, says that I was spontaneously combusted from the inside out, then you know why. Jeff can put that on his, you know, as a selling point for his website.
That's hilarious.
But great. How are you?
You also mentioned that it doesn't take you as long to calibrate now.
No. So I had the sub 18s in there with the 4,000s. The sub 18s are phenomenal subs, but it took me 4 days to calibrate the sub 18s with the 4,000s. It was a huge pain.
Because you're doing sealed and ported.
Sealed with ported. It was a mess. Phasing, alignments, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
This time around, 15 minutes.
Nice. And we get that question sometimes, like on my channel, like, hey, can I mix? Literally just this past week, a guy, I think he had like, say, a PB something, maybe a PB 3000, and he found a really good deal on an SB 3000 or 2000. He's like, hey, it's a really, really good deal. Should I get it? And I just told him, I said, you can mix sealed and ported. It's just a lot harder to implement. I've never tried it. I've just heard from people that have, and they say it's kind of a pain in the butt. You know, it really, really takes some tweaking to get those timeline, to get them dialed in and to play nice together, because I'm assuming they're kind of canceling each other out. Is that what happens? Or
yeah, there's some strange things, and I think Jonathan was going to say something, but there's the best way that I can describe this is, how do you deal with being frustrated? because that's how this is going to go if you're trying to get a really good calibration with these.
There will be problems below the port tune for the sealed sub. It will be out of phase and it won't play nicely below port tune, but it also raises some problems above port tune. You have some interactions on orders of harmonics basically above the port tune, like second and third order and so forth, and it will cause havoc across the whole spectrum. How much havoc depends on the quality of the subs, the placement of the subs, all that kind of stuff, and some dumb luck sometimes. But yeah, ported and sealed are a little bit off on just their timing and everything. So especially if you try to split the cable and have a single cable that feeds both, it'll be a disaster that way.
It's hard to do that.
Yep, that would be a mess. But you were out of town. You had you had a great weekend.
And that's partly why I'm so pumped, man. So Jessica and I celebrated 26 years of marriage, so that was super cool. We went up to 3 places. We went to Savannah, Georgia. Spent kind of most of the afternoon. We walked about 10 miles, just literally all over Savannah, had great lunch and dinner there. Then we drove up to Hilton Head in South Carolina, stayed there for 2 nights. We're one of them dumb people that sign up for the timeshare presentations to get a couple 3 nights hotels. We're like, hey, this is awesome. So we did that. Of course, we told them we're not interested. And then the next day we drove kind of really back down to near Savannah is a place called Tybee Island over in Georgia. And so then we drove back up to Hilton Head that night, the 3rd night, spent the night, got up the next morning and then drove home. It's about a 5.5 hour drive, but it was just super cool. Their beaches. If you guys are in South Carolina, let me know. No offense, but your beaches don't compare to Florida beaches. We get up there, they're hard, so they don't have the soft sand like we do. And then, of course, the color of the water. The water there is just kind of brownish and murky, and you can't see in it.
It looks like poop.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, but down in Florida,
dark.
Yeah, especially when you get further south from where I am. I'm in Central Florida, like kind of on the horizontal plane of Tampa and Orlando, but you get down on the East Coast, especially down near like not Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. Beautiful water down there. It starts getting really blue, really greenish. It's a lot clearer. And then, of course, as you get way further down, the Keys and then the Caribbean, it just gets sparkling clean. So my anniversary date, Elliot, is June the 7th. So yeah, congratulations to your 11 years, man. That's awesome. 26 years, you get less than murder for sure. Hey, here's the thing. I truly believe this. It was funny because somebody mentioned on my channel when I shared that, they said, man, that is so refreshing to hear somebody celebrate marriage, because in our culture, we don't see it that way. We see it as a burden, as a ball and chain kind of thing. And I don't think it has to be that way. I think you can find an amazing spouse. And now me and Jessica are nothing alike. I mean, everything about us, man. I'll sit down, she'll stand up. She's always cold. I'm hot. I like to snowboard. She skis. I go fast. She goes really, really slow. I like loud music. She doesn't like it loud at all. So polar opposite ends of the spectrum, but it literally works. Somebody once said, if 2 people that are 2 people that are just alike get married, one of you is unnecessary. So I think we complement each other pretty well. But we had a great time, man. It was really, really cool. And it was nice just to kind of like disconnect for the most part. I still answered some comments and even uploaded a video and edited a video while I was there while Jessica was asleep. But for the most part, I was able to just kind of don't think about work, just enjoy some time away. But then that allows me to come back home and like, all right, dude, I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm excited. M-Wave's around the corner. We're like 31 days around the corner. So we've got lots of cool things. We had a meeting the other day with Perlison, and they're bringing, 7 subwoofers that they're going to have in their room.
Well, they're bringing 9.
Yeah. But in one room, they're going to have 7.
Room.
So that's cool. And part of that, they said, look, we got big rooms. We need to make sure we pressurize it. But really, we want to make sure that all of your attendees get a good seat to seat experience. And so there's not these big, nulls in the room. And so So we're excited to have them on board. We're gonna have a great time there. But yeah, man, let me say hi to some folks in the chat. We got Megatron's in the house. Austin, good to see you. Mark Fox, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Finster, Chris, Don's in Michigan. Good to see you, man. I always like hearing where you guys are from. K-Man, what's happening, buddy? Mike, C Big, what is going on? Music Jewel, CJ, Bruce. Bruce is driving, man, so glad you're not watching. So keep the eyes on the road. JD, good to see you, man. So JD's like, dude, I love it when JD pops in here, man. He gets me pumped up because he's such a young dude. I think he's 17. So I'm always excited to see the younger generation get into home theater and audio and video. Will's in the house. My home theater, what is going on, man? Good to see you, Chris. Jed, lots of folks in the chat, man. So let me jump to a couple of super chats here. Appreciate those. Chris says, in honor of DTS 30th birthday, favorite DTS related memory. Oh man. See, I don't know if I know like which, especially when it comes to movies, like which ones are encoded in DTS and which ones are encoded, like in Dolby True HD back in the day. Do you guys have a DTS memory? Even a trailer?
Gladiator, probably.
So Gladiator and Jurassic Park were DTS?
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, I think, was the first. I think.
Awesome.
And then I remember very much that piano chord. Do you remember that with the logo of DTS that popped up? It was like you could see the dust coming off the piano hammers and the key strings. That was awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think I know like specific movies, but I've seen definitely some trailers over the years.
You even home theater?
No, not really. Dude, I spend so much time making content for these dudes in the chat. I wish I could watch more, but it's all good, man.
The remaster for Jurassic Park is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And I've heard some good things about some movies that are out right now. Across the Spider-Verse. If you guys haven't seen that, Into the Spider-Verse. My son said Into the Spider-Verse is like literally one of his favorite movies.
It's fantastic.
Of all time. He said Across the Spider-Verse is even better than that. Like it's phenomenal.
Yeah, the demo material out of both of those movies visually is fantastic.
Yeah. Yes, if you guys haven't seen that, and I think the new Transformers came out this weekend, maybe this.
People said that was fun.
Yeah, I've been hearing good things about that. One guy said it was like his movie of the year. Not
really.
Sure. Yeah,
it's on the Transformers franchise though. On the new one with the Michael Bay
that'd be hard
one,
for me to believe, but
it's really hard for me for any scene in Transformers to get by Shockwave when he comes into the airbase on the very first one. And then he starts just blowing up the airbase.
Oh,
the helicopter when he lands. Yeah, I mean, my jaw hit the floor when that happened. That was
cool.
Childhood coming alive. He transforms out of the helicopter, and it was amazing. That's still a go-to demo scene.
So when I watched Transformers in the movie theater for the first time, the original one.
When we say the original, we're talking the remake.
Yes, I guess. Like in the, what would that have been? Maybe 10 years ago?
No, it was longer than that.
15 years ago? Anyway, maybe that one. Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
So anyway, we're watching it. First comes out in the theater, and I go with my son, and we're watching it. And there were just certain scenes, man. I just got like overwhelmed with all this emotion, and I didn't know why. And then looking back, I'm going, I know exactly why. Because my childhood was so entrenched in Transformers. Like every morning before I went to school, I'd be watching Transformers. And then I think even when I got home, I'd watch it, so I would and I love Transformers. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I only had a few of them. But I had like one of the Dinobots. I think I didn't have Optimus Prime. That he was way too expensive. I had GoBots instead. They were the like fake Transformers. There was a couple other brands that were kind of like off brands of Transformers, but I loved those, man. But yeah, I heard really great things about the new one. So if you guys have seen that this weekend, let us know in the chat if you liked it. So iCopo7, appreciate the $5 super chat. MadVR Mark 1 3080 versus the Mark II Pro if nonlinear stretch and dynamic tone mapping, most important to me. So he's got an NZ8, 145-inch screen, 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio, Stewart screen, microperf. He's not a videophile. He just wants all the content to fit.
Okay.
What say ye? I would imagine either one of them are going to allow the content to fit. That didn't really change with the two versions, right? With the nonlinear stretch.
I don't know. I don't know anything about MadVR.
Nothing. So he's not a dealer for MadVR, but he does work with work.
I don't know what you're talking about. So what would I say here? MadVR Mark 1 3080 versus the Mark II Pro. Well, the Pro's not out yet for the Mark II because we haven't determined what GPU is going to be in there yet. So the Mark II Pro doesn't exist as of right now. If you're just wanting NLS and DTM, is this a new purchase or do you already have the Mark 1?
Let us know in the chat.
I would probably, personal preference at this point, especially with the Mark II Pro not existing, I would get a Mark 1 currently. Reason being,
he said
is the Mark 1 is going to have access to geometry control, which is a big deal. Geometry control allows you to fix any geometric distortion that exists in an image. Like nobody's projector is perfectly square to a screen, right? That's very difficult to do. So geometry control, if I could talk today, allows you to compensate for being off axis without the need for keystoning. We can warp or pre-warp the image so that when it's warped after reflecting back to you as the viewer, it displays correctly. So the Pro does not get that. The Extreme Mark 1 will, and the Mark II Extreme does too. The other benefit that you get from the Extreme is you're going to get motion AI, which a lot of people don't like motion interpolation, but how MadVR is doing motion interpolation, it's AI based. So it's able to dynamically change with what it's detecting and seeing on the screen. And we're able to train it using machine learning so that we can constantly adapt it to how things change in the industry. And we're able to effectively create a motion interpolated view without bringing in the perceived soap opera effect. And there's a bunch of different ways that we can change that. And there's a bunch of different settings that you have control over to drive the experience that you want. So if I were in your position, I would do an Extreme. Mark 1 3080.
There you go.
At this point. And buy it now. Then you don't have to wait.
Available. Sweet,
Bam.
man. Appreciate the insight.
Speaking of no projector throws a perfect image, I realized today as I was playing with my screen wall, my baffle wall, that off the center line, measuring to the right and measuring to the left, to the edge of the image, it's a half-inch different. I don't think I've ever noticed that before because I was trying to cut new holes in my baffle wall in the drywall. And I was thinking, like, what is going on here? And then it just tied to the fact that my projector is not exactly centered in my room because it'd be right in front of an electrical panel. So it's off to the right a little bit, which gives that geometric issue.
So if you were to turn the projector slightly, right, to be able to center it up, what ends up happening is what part of the lens is closer to the screen and another part is further away. So you actually get, if you're looking for it, you can get part of the screen is a little bit taller and the other part is a little bit shorter, which I have to fight or did have to fight because I'm at my minimum throw by an 1/8 of an inch. So I have to fight being slightly off. Otherwise I don't fill my screen. But geometry correction allows you to compensate for that overshoot and the distortion that it can create in real time. But the Extreme is the only one that allows you to do it.
Nice. All right. So I've been reading through comments, and just kind of starring those. So you guys are asking some good stuff, man. Appreciate it. Let's go back up here. Cool. Megatron says, am I still part of the Daily Hi-Fi? No, I'm not. I actually stepped away from that. Been doing our podcast here for about a year now. Well, yeah, we started right after M-Wave of last year.
We started after M-Wave?
No. I think that, was it before?
It was before.
So yeah, just been focusing on this and just kind of doing my own thing. So, but love those guys. Wish nothing but the best for them. But our time is now to go our separate ways. let's see. CJ, Jonathan, I'm looking at the Marantz AV10. How's it working for you?
Yeah, hey CJ. So I've probably said this before in other podcasts, but I'm not one that really thinks that the AVR or the Pre-Pro makes a whole lot of difference as far as sound quality. It's all in the calibration that you use or the auto EQ results. So like I had a Denon X 6700 before that. I had a Denon 7200 before that. I had a Denon 4520 before that. I had an Onkyo 5508 before that. If I turn off EQ and I do my careful level matching and I'm just playing like direct no EQ, I don't think I could tell the difference in any of them. So I've tested this multiple times in multiple different rooms with multiple different AVRs, like ABCs, D, quick switching. That's my takeaway. Everyone has a little bit different thought on that, but that's what I've come to the conclusion of. So as far as the AVR10 like sounding amazingly different than anything I've had before, that's not the case, but it does offer new features that are nice. And that's the reason I bought it. I wanted 15 channels so that I could have 6 heights and 9 bass. And then it has, the nicer GUI, the updated GUI. It has the chance to do Dirac. It just has 4 subwoofer outs. It has some nice options. And if you don't need the amplification, you could look at the Denon H1 as another choice. But they're great units. Like I have no complaints on it. I've had no bugs with it. It's just worked. And so, that's what you want your processor to do. I'm real happy with it.
Sweet, man.
I really think you should buy a processor AVR based on the features you want, and not expect any necessary sound difference unless the AVR Pre-Pro is intentionally changing something.
Yeah.
Which the Marantz does.
It has a toggle for it. So there's a DAC switch.
You said that's even kind of really minor, though. It's not.
It's so subtle. That's so subtle. I've had several friends over here, and we've toggled it back and forth. And you might be able to detect that it's making a difference. But if you left the room and came back in, I bet a paycheck nobody could tell the difference on which one is which. If they
all right, let's do it.
Ooh, I was about to say that sounds good.
You got to do it. 75% of the time accurate. I don't think anyone could do it.
Oh, wait a minute, but then I'd have to give you my paycheck if I lose.
Yeah, let's not do it.
Okay. I thought we were going for your paycheck. I'm like, that'd be cool, man.
Free money.
I'm down for that.
I mean, even if I'm guessing, maybe I can get lucky.
Super cool. Schmock91 says, watching from Sydney, Australia, man. Keep up the good work, guys. Appreciate it, man. I love hearing you guys all around the world hanging out with us and just providing some great questions and engaging in the chat. iCopo7 Youth Man, going to be in the Marriage Hall of Fame. Congrats, man. I'm working on it. I want to be one of those guys that, I'm old and gray. Well, I'm already kind of there, but I want to be like really old, really gray. And like me and Jessica, I'm still opening the door for her. And I'm like 85 years old. And, I've seen those couples in life and I'm like, that's who I want to be. I want to love my wife faithfully to the end. And just have an awesome marriage and set that example for our 4 children. So especially now that my son's married and my oldest daughter, I can see her getting married maybe sometime after she's actually trekking through the Appalachian Trail with her boyfriend. They've been dating for like 8 years. And so they're walking 2,200 miles. So
how are they doing that at their jobs, Michael? Like
she quit. Literally. So the short version is he just finished his school. So he'll go into the police academy. He wants to be originally he was going to be a lawyer because his dad's a lawyer, but then he was studying and he's like, nah, this ain't for me. And he's always had a heart for law enforcement. So he wants to be a police officer or some kind of law enforcement. And then she was a school teacher this past year with Jessica. And since she's not tenured, she couldn't take a leave of absence, so she just quit. But we're so in need of teachers, so it'd be no problem for her to get another teacher position. She just basically has to start over in her tenure, if that makes sense. Sure. Yeah, so it was.
But since she just started, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, she was only there a year, and then she quit the last week of school.
You told me last time, or you told us last time. How long are they expecting that to take? I can't recall.
5 months. Yeah, it should go to about October. So they've only traveled maybe a couple 100 miles. But she's on Instagram and she's posting videos and photos. And the cool thing is we were kind of worried about like being able to hear from them and, would it be 10 days and we wouldn't here, and so they bought a little GPS tracker kind of thing, and he can Mike can he'll hit a button on it, and at the end of the night when they've kind of settled in either at their campground or they've got shelters along the way about every 8 miles, and they're just wooden shelters open on one end and at least got 3 walls to get them out of the elements. But he can just hit a button and it notifies us and it notifies his parents that, hey, we made it safe, to their next destination. And so we pay like a subscription while we're there doing that. So yeah, man, but we've been able to FaceTime them a lot when they get into a town. Even sometimes while they're out trekking, they've got decent reception. And so we've been able to at least stay in contact with them. They'll text us in the morning, hey, we're about to head out. And, sometime later on that afternoon, I'll look on Instagram and they've uploaded some photos and videos, and it's just been cool watching that. And it's just beautiful country out there. So Walter Pyres, he says, looking for 2 monoblock amps. Which of the 2 would you guys pick, the Buckeye or the Emotiva? Thanks again. Emotiva HC. Ryan, you're familiar with the Buckeyes.
But I'm biased.
Yeah, but I mean, you at least know like the wattage and everything. HC1. I want to
know what speakers he's trying to drive with those.
HC. Let us know what speakers you've got.
What is the XPC?
HC1 is a monoblock.
That's a monoblock. So it's a really small monoblock. I'll share my screen. Actually, let me stop that. So let's take a look at this. Honestly, I wasn't even familiar. No, we don't need 10% off. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. It disappeared. There we go. So $879. How much does the other one run?
9 something.
Okay, so very comparable in price. This one we are looking at specs.
It's only rated down to 4 ohms.
So this is
Class H.
600 watts, 4 ohms, Class H.
I wouldn't do that.
Do you see any red flags? Like what would...
So it looks like ASR has measured the HC1, and at least the one they sampled didn't measure that great.
Okay.
I mean, it's Class H. Usually those run pretty hot.
Do they?
They're not very efficient. I mean, a lot of pro amps are Class H. So because they put out huge amounts of power, it's interesting that they went with Class H for something like this. But it's not even rated down to 2 ohms. The Purify is going to smoke this.
Okay.
So ASR review, Amir says the HC1 underperforms more than half the amplifiers we've ever tested over 400. So it's in the bottom half of the 400 amps they've tested.
Okay.
And then if you look at the Purify is going to be in like the top 10 or 15 amps he's ever tested.
Wow. Okay.
Then comes the question of what's audible, and we've talked about that before. Will you hear it? Maybe not. If you got real sensitive speakers and you were trying to get rid of noise floor, you might hear it. But as far as
for the price, I mean,
not.
with them being virtually the same price, I mean, the Purify is going to be like $100 more, right? But it's Class D, which means it's hugely efficient. I mean, you're talking 90 to 95% efficiency. This is a Class AB stage, front stage with a Class H power supply. So it's going to burn off a lot of that and not put that to the speakers. Possibly have a fan, so it's going to be noisy, and it's not rated down to 2 ohms. The Purify is going to drive anything you throw at it. I mean, that's specifically why I have the 1ET7040 SAs driving my front soundstage, because my 15A Renaissance are very hard on amps, and the Purifies do not care. I can push them as loud as I want, never go into protection.
I think if I had the choice between, and regardless of the brand, if I had the choice between 2, if they were very similar in price point, if one measured better, I'd probably go that route. But I personally haven't experienced either one of those. So
what say you, Jonathan?
Has ASR measured that one you're talking about, the Purify?
There's been several. Well, there's been other amps that use that module. I got to find I always hate trying to find his like graph.
I'm looking as well because I mean, if you got one guy that's measured both of them, that's like a best case scenario.
Absolutely. Sure.
I know some of Buckeye stuff measures extremely well, and some of it, at least one of them I saw was a little questionable.
There was an issue with it, and there was an issue with it grounding somewhere, and that was identified and fixed.
Okay.
So that's been
we actually
he worked with ASR with Amir to be able to figure out what was going on, and they corrected that problem.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise the other reviews I've seen on the ASR for the Buckeye stuff has all been stellar. So yeah, I would probably go to the same situation. I'd probably recommend the Buckeye out of that comparison. Cool. I don't have a problem. That said, I don't have a problem with Emotiva amps. I do have a problem with Emotiva processors and receivers and stuff. They're bad news. But the amps are well known, well tested. They're reliable. They're going to last a long time. They probably have crossed the threshold of audibility. But like you say, if you can get one that measures a lot better at the top end, why not? Go with Buckeye.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Emotiva amps as well, especially like their XPA series and the DR3. So those are solid. So great question. Appreciate it, Walter. Salish, thanks so much for the $5 super chat. Epson 5050 UB with 3D versus the Epson LS11000 with no 3D. What's your recommendation here? I was thinking to upgrade my current 4010.
I think you got to go with the LS12000 instead of the LS11000. I have yet to see an LS11000, but I've talked to several people on the forums that I trust and have high regard for who have seen the 12,000 for this 11,000. They say 11,000 is not the same league because the black levels are not the same. It's almost like the Ultraback Monkey or the Epson uses that UB label. More applies to the 12,000, and the 11,000 is more in line with like the 4,000 series that you already have. So if you want an increase in black levels, you probably should go to the Ultra Black 5050 or perhaps the Epson LS 12,000.
And your price difference isn't very much at all between the LS 11,000 and 12,000.
About $3,800 for the LS 11,000, 4,600-ish for the. Is that right?
And keep in mind the LS 12,000 comes with a mount.
Yeah, 5,000.
Nice.
Sorry,
it's a chief mount.
5,000 for the LS,
and that's substantial.
It's $250, $300 mount. It has the plate, the drop down pull, the nice mount mechanism that lets you do your 3 different angles. It's good.
Don't they give you another bulb too?
There's no bulb with the LS 12,000.
No,
it's laser. But the Epson 5050. No, the 6050 would have the extra bulb on that series.
That's what I was thinking of. I remember the Pro series, they would come with the mount and a bulb.
So real quick, back to the amplifier question. The Buckeye Purify 3-channel, which is it's the step down from the 7040. It is the 10th highest rated Synad amplifier on Audio Science Review ever. So take that for what it is.
So your question here on the Epson, you mentioned 3D, so obviously 3D is important to you. That is probably going to weigh into your decision pretty critically.
Yeah.
5040 is a good projector.
5050 is what he's talking about.
Oh, 5050 is a good projector.
Yeah, it is. And the bulbs are just dirt cheap, so you can run it for a long time. You can get bulbs for $120.
Wow,
for that thing.
Buy OEM bulbs, people.
Yeah, definitely. I've always advised that. I've just heard like horror stories, people buying these, off-brand bulbs and they blow up inside and then they got a mess and they're just out of the gate. They're not even bright.
Well, we've seen a few of those happen on the M-Wave Discord where people are buying these cheaper bulbs and they're like, well, this one doesn't measure. Let's send it back and do another one. This one doesn't measure. Just buy an OEM bulb. Be done with it.
I can tell him a little bit more information on the 5050 versus the LS 12,000 because that's what I have is LS 12,000. I've been in multiple rooms that have a 5050. There's quite a few of them here in Kansas City. And I have a 5040 to kind of compare. I never really saw much difference between the 5040 and the 5050. It was very minor tweaks across the board. It has a little bit better E-shift, if you will, a little better image enhancement on the 5050, but The main difference between the 5050 and the 5040 is that the HDR handling is much better on the 5050. They upgraded that. It's actually usable. 5040 HDR handling is terrible. But the mechanic, the quality of it is basically the same. Otherwise, the hardware. The Epson LS12000 gives you a full fade to black, which is notable improvement. So if like the screen fades between credits or you switch, scene, you'll get a full fade to black. The contrast is going to be very similar between the 5050 UB and the LS12000. The 5050 UB might even have a hint better contrast, but it's not going to be enough to really throw your decision. The clarity on text and the sharpness is going to be much better on the LS12000 because they've further notched that up. It's a 4K wobble, if you will. It adjusts the pixels 4 times instead of 2 times like on the Epson 5050. So your sharpness will be better on the Epson. The HDR is a further improvement on the LS12000. Me personally, between those two, if you can afford it, if it's in your ballpark, I'd recommend you go to the Epson LS12000. I'm real happy with mine. I really like it. It's a good projector.
But the LS12000 does not do 3D?
None of the new lasers from Epson do.
Yeah,
they don't do 3D.
He's saying he need. So I'm not sure why we bring up the LS11000 if you need 3D, but you're considering something, unless it's just not that important to you.
Right.
So, I mean, if it doesn't support it, then that shouldn't even be on your radar.
Yep.
Right.
So,
if you want 3D, you need to stay with the 5050.
And he says you can get a good deal on Amazon for the 5050.
I'm looking at it right now. And I'm going to shamelessly plug this, guys. If anybody's looking for gear, including this Epson 5050, I actually just became an Epson direct dealer.
Oh, nice. Super cool.
Let me know, because I can match that for Epson. And if you're out of Kansas, you won't pay tax. So save you some money. And Marantz and Buckeye and all that stuff. So if you guys need anything, let me know. Even if it's just advice. Free advice is still good advice.
Unless it's not good advice.
I mean, maybe.
That's
a good point.
Elite GT 500. Appreciate it, man. He says, evening, guys. Love the show. Glad you're enjoying it, man. Bruce says, come try some Canada beaches. They're frozen all year round.
Canada.
I don't think I was about to say Canadian beaches. Yeah, I don't think we can. I can't really do any water skiing or wakeboarding on a frozen lake. That hurts.
And you could. Bust. It just may hurt.
It hurts when you bust.
Or you may die.
Exactly. Justin says, my dual PB16 Ultras have been begging for an upgrade. Since SVS refuses to offer one, I may have to look at the new Klipsch. Might not even have to go out of my pocket for the swap. Maybe a few $100s. Cool.
How much is the PV16 Ultra?
They used to be $2,500. I think they've gone up. PB25. I mean PB16.
Have we even concluded that the new Klipsch is going to best the PB16 Ultra?
2,900.
29. So yeah, it's gone up quite a bit. And then the Klipsch RP 1600, I think is the model.
No, we don't know what they're going to do.
That one, price wise, it's only 1,800. There's a big difference.
So my thought is the Klipsch is not going to be an upgrade, even if it measures well. Would be my assumption. You guys,
why is that?
I just can't see it doing it. Can you guys?
I gotta admit, I'm skeptical on that Klipsch.
And I'm not saying it is. Yeah,
I gotta see it. I gotta see.
I'm not saying it'll be bad. I'm saying I can't see it being upgrade. I could see it being a side grade, but I can't see it being an upgrade. Is my point.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you'd be better served buying an RS1.
All you have to do is look at the surround on that new Klipsch and tell yourself that it doesn't look as beefy as that SVS, and it probably means something. Because I mean, I'm looking at a picture of it right now.
Yeah.
It might as well be like what a little cheap 12-inch looks like as far as surround. And now look at your SVS PB16 Ultra. That thing's got a beefy surround. And that usually indicates, it doesn't have to, but it usually indicates X-Max and capability of the driver excursion.
Right.
So I could be surprised. Maybe it'll measure real well, but I have to agree with Ryan that I think on its nose, just without having the measurements yet, it's a lateral. If not,
that's the hard thing right now. That there's really only, the last I saw, there was only one company. I don't even know where they're at, but they kind of did a head-to-head, I think, with.
What's the Klipsch 16 called?
PB16. Oh, I'm sorry, RP 1600. Let me put it up here. But I watched their video and they were super impressed with this thing. But then again, they are Klipsch dealers.
Well, I mean, I could probably be super impressed with it for the price point. I mean, if it's a good sub, it'll be good, but I can't see it being an upgrade over the PB16 is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I can't see it being an improvement.
Yeah.
Is all I mean. And
well, right there on their website, like what you just had it up, there was a 3.5 out of 5 star review on Klipsch's main page.
Okay, let's go.
That's not a good indication.
Let's see what it says. We'll read it live on the show here. Let me pull that one off. Present.
Where are the specs on this thing?
It's, I think, down near the bottom. All right, no thanks. All right, so 3. Let's click it.
There's only
Let's
5
see what
reviews,
it says.
I guess.
Okay, size doesn't always matter. A month ago, I was super excited to get this woofer. Super excited to get this system. This woofer is big for nothing. Seems underpowered. My SPL 120 is blowing this space taker out of the water. I got to find a tractor and trailer to return it. Okay, so he didn't like it.
No, that guy don't even that. He has his little 12-inch 300-watt RMS Klipsch is beating that thing. Something's wrong with his setup.
Yeah, and then this one says, "Man, the subs are excellent, punchy, nuanced, quick, detailed bass. Have paired with Klipsch, the THX, like the Ultra 2 type speakers. For music, the sub feels much quicker than previous SPL line. Not sure what that means, but feels like it'll
to somebody.
Yeah, Justin, I mean, we've talked about this before on here. If you want to go to a upgrade, it's not another big box store. You want to go to Internet Direct, or you want to do it yourself, because you're already kind of the top experience for those big box retail store subs. So you're looking at something like a JTR or a do-it-yourself setup to really go to the next level, in my opinion.
I was looking at some of the reviews, so at least some people are actually getting them in hand, so that's good. I haven't done any research to see what everybody's saying.
This is compared against the PB Ultra, correct?
That's what he's curious about, right?
Yeah, he's asking.
So
16.
One indicator that I have this not being an upgrade is the RP 1600 is a ported box, right? The SVS, its enclosure is actually significantly larger than the Klipsch, which it being ported, I think, should be an indication that it's not going to have as much output.
Let's look at the specs on it. Did you look at both measurements?
Look at the weight too.
The Klipsch is roughly 23 by 23 by 20.
Okay.
And the SVS is 25 by 22 by 31.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would indicate
larger.
A lower port tune typically if you have a larger box for the same.
Because one of the shortcomings that you get with ported boxes is if they're not large enough, it's not able to get down to where it needs to go, which is why JTR subs, as an example, his ported subs are so large.
Yeah, they're massive.
Because they have to be. Your sealed subs are typically smaller because they're sealed enclosures, but you really have to have the volume in order for a ported sub to work correctly.
Yeah, and if you've ever looked at, just web search some drivers for like Klipsch subwoofer drivers, and then web search images for SVS drivers, and you can tell one of them is a subwoofer company and one of them isn't. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, sure.
And to reiterate, I am not saying that the Klipsch is a bad sub. I think it could be an excellent sub for the price point. I mean, the SVS is $1,000 MSRP more than the Klipsch.
Right.
But to reiterate, I don't think the Klipsch is going to be an upgrade. It's going to be a side grade. If you want to upgrade, your two options are Internet Direct, as Jonathan said, or build something yourself.
Cool, man. Yeah,
I mean, I just out of curiosity, you guys do this little exercise. Look up Klipsch subwoofer drivers images, Google search images, and then they're just they look like woofers. Like you could replace them with a 6.5-inch woofer, and it just look like that. You know what I mean? Like it's not
the new subwoofers or the old ones.
Just their old one. Just their history. Their history.
They know their history sucks. They know that, and that's the whole point with this new series. So their thought is, we've heard the complaints, we've seen the complaints, we know we haven't even been on anybody's radar in the area of subwoofer, but we're trying to change that. So
and I think it could be a good sub.
That's the direction, and that's the purpose behind this new series. Now, will it live up to expectations? Time will tell. These have to be into some people's hands. They need to be, out there a year or two to see if we've got amp failures like we've had in the past.
Does Klipsch sell Klipsch?
They knew that going into it. They're like, hey, look, we know that we've got to set the bar high because they want to be in the same field as and the same playground as some of the other big boys, or not big boys, but just on that level, So again, I'm not taking up for them because I haven't heard them, haven't listened to them, have no experience with them. I'm hopeful that they will. I'd love to see another competitor because that's a win for consumers, because when another brand is in competition and they have something to offer that's similar, typically that means somebody's going to start lowering some prices or even come out with something better than that one. And so again, we as consumers win. So, but
do you think it's worth it getting one of these Klipsch at M-Wave?
We could. I don't know.
Do you think let's send a message to SVS and see if we can get some stuff out there?
To SVS to see if you can get some stuff out there. What do you mean?
Like some subs.
They're bringing subs. You mean there's like extra?
He
subs?
means for a little shoot
like
off
extra
between
stuff.
the SVS and the
No shootout.
Friendly comparison.
Comparison. Happy comparison.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Maybe we can make it happen for
And then I'll see about picking up a Klipsch.
Okay.
I think that would be informative, and I think the community that hasn't happened.
I don't mind asking Klipsch to send one, see if they're interested.
And then what we could do is we could drive the Klipsch out into the middle of a field and measure it. I'm not going to blow it up, Jonathan. Measure it constructively, okay?
Man.
And see what it's actually doing.
The Klipsch should be more easy to do that. That PB16, man, it's 170.
No, the PB16's been measured. I would take the Klipsch out because
but like
we can run it off the truck.
Measure it the same way, man.
Well, then we take the PB16 out.
All right,
see what they do.
Do that before I get up there.
Well,
great question, man. Appreciate it. See Big, what's up, man? June 14th is 37 years for me. Congratulations. That is super cool, man. I love seeing marriages that are winning, man. Nadeem, he says, Youth Man, I want to ask, I make game theater and I got a mini arcade inside. So when you are done watching a movie, you can play games. Super cool, man. I play some games on my theater. Jonathan, do you do any gaming?
Yes, I do.
So
but I kind of use the OLED more than the projector at this point because it's just so much better for gaming.
It is. It's gonna. I mean, you got the higher refresh rate. I'm blind, so I don't mind the 150-inch, and I don't do any competitive stuff. And
who's bringing the gaming console to put on the 98-inch Samsung?
Nice. I could loan out my Xbox Series X if you want.
That would be kind of cool. I'll be honest.
I'm debating on whether I want to put that on my flight sim rig. Sit 3 feet from it.
Wow.
Immersion!
Wow. That'd be cool, man.
It would be.
See, guys, we're trying to make this M-Wave thing bigger and better. Y'all just need to come. We're 31 days away. You need to come to the show, July 14th to the 16th. Super pumped. I just confirmed that Chris Majestic, he's going to be there. Super cool, nice guy. Can't wait to meet him in person. We got a bunch of other content creators coming. We're going to have a lot of fun. Dude, we've got just a lot of cool stuff planned. So get your tickets. You can head over to the website.
And if you want to see a man have an aneurysm and live, that's going to happen in 31 days as I officially freak out and stress out when the event is here.
It's a lot of work making all this stuff happen, but man, we're so pumped. And again, we're trying to do something that nobody else is doing in the industry. And not that they're doing anything bad. It's just we want to provide something different. We don't want to replicate another trade show. We want to provide some cool experiences that you just aren't going to get anywhere else. So that's what it's all about, man. I think it's worth the investment of your hotel and driving and just make a trip out of it. I was about to say bring your family, but I don't know if they've got a lot of stuff to do in Kansas, do they? If you brought the wife and kids,
We're a city of like 1 million people. We got stuff to do.
Okay, you can find some stuff to do.
Yeah, there's stuff to do.
Yeah. Let's see. And Nadeem says he's from South Africa. Dude, I love it. And he's 18 years old, rocking, man. Again, I love seeing younger dudes get into this hobby. He's got his first home theater, full Dolby Atmos, a 7.5.1. So I'm thinking
quite a system
like
at 18 years old.
Yeah. I'm not sure the numbers match up.
He probably means 7.1.5, perhaps, but I'm not. Maybe it's an Oro setup with a voice of God in the center for the 5 ceiling.
Yeah. So it could be like a 7.1.5, but there may be a language barrier there too. So super cool, man. I love it.
Maybe he's just got one voice of God above him.
That's it. Man. Who knows, man? Hey, you gotta start somewhere. He did say he has a full Dolby Atmos.
At 18 with a 7.1.5, that's
rocking, man.
That's phenomenal.
I wish.
I had like a pawn shop stereo system at the 18.
So at 18,
I had a home theater in a box with all the proprietary connections. And they were like
at 18,
pink, teal, red, brown, and green.
Yeah. At 18, I had a stereo. We didn't have home theater back then. So Music Jewel working at Circuit City. He remembers Gladiator. So I too worked at Circuit City. That's cool. Ryan, if you don't mind, star some of the newer ones.
I've been starring.
Okay, cool. Brandon says, any thought on Apple Vision Pro and how it might enhance home
don't enable this guy. Don't get. So anyway, back to before we answer this.
All right.
It is, you brought up Circuit City. It is amazing because we talk about this at the trade shows. Sometimes it comes up how many people in the industry that work professionally in the industry that travel for trade shows, that do tech for all of these big companies, are from Circuit City and Best Buy. Like that's where everybody started. And
that's where the cool people used to work, man.
I don't know about that.
All right, maybe not.
We thought we were cool.
I wanted to be cool. That's why honestly, I just wanted cheap gear. I wanted discounts. That's why I went to work for there.
5% over factory, baby.
Dude, I was able to get my Polk audio speakers for 60% off.
Yeah.
Monster cables for 75% off. That ought to tell you something.
The Best Buy vendor accommodations are still the best in the industry.
Yeah. And I think I got my Velodyne CT100 for 50% off. So, but they only allowed you to do those big discounts. Like that wasn't store cost or cost. That was below cost, which are your employee discount, I guess. So they would only offer those like once a year. And so when that deal came around, like I'm getting my system. So yeah, that's awesome. All right. So back to Brandon's question here. So honestly, I'm glad you brought it up because some people on my channel have asked about it. And I think it's worth at least talking about it. So if you haven't heard Apple introduce Vision Pro, so it's somewhat like VR, somewhat like AR, which is virtual reality and augmented reality. And so you wear this headset, and the interesting thing and how it deals with home theater is, let's see if we can find a little demo. Here we go. So the ultimate theater, wherever you are. So the thought is you can have this big, massive 150-inch display in front of you because you're wearing the goggles. You can watch football. You can connect your controller and play video games. So you've got this big, massive display. Now this unit isn't cheap. It's $3,500 for each headset for the Vision Pro. But some people have asked me, Michael, do you think this could be a replacement for home theater for somebody that's wanting to get into it? It seems like a lesser expensive investment. As far as the price point, that's okay if you're solo dude living at home by yourself. But what happens when you're like me and you got a family of 6? So now I've got to buy 6 of those at $3,500 a piece. And then my other concern is, yes, they do have audio in the headset, but is it going to be great audio? Am I going to feel the bass in it?
Can you imagine trying to get chest thump out of that?
Yeah. I mean, you're going to miss all of that. Yeah, exactly. Leadership Push says the sound wouldn't be able to be replaced. And that's my biggest thing. Now, would this be a cool experience? I really think so. I think it'd be really, really cool. I'd love to try it sometime once they get them out. I probably won't be buying one. But I think it's a neat technology. And I always love when technology is being pushed You know, I mean, we've had VR headsets out for a while now, and they haven't really like completely taken off. But it is kind of interesting when you look at Apple's history. When they introduce a new product, a lot of times people's like, oh man, nobody's ever going to pay that much for it. You know, we think back when the iPhone hit the shelf and it was super expensive, and everybody's going, that's crazy. Nobody's going to spend whatever the first, iPhone was. And here we are many years later, and we're all spending $1,000, $1,200 on a phone. Pretty common commodity. So I don't know. Time will tell again, how people will adopt this and whether or not it's going to be cool. And of course, other manufacturers are going to have a chance to, like right now, you just have like the Apple ecosystem. And like I have no desire to check my email on this headset, but there may be other brands that come on board that enable different functionality to it. So definitely it's intriguing. Is it going to replace home theater? Nah. Would it be something fun? I think it could be. So what do you guys' thoughts on it?
There's some things that I worry about with this because I'm pretty accustomed to VR headsets because of my flight sim stuff. A lot of the guys in flight sim use VR because it allows you a level of tactility that you don't get from a two-dimensional display. So for anybody that doesn't know, with VR in games, you can actually perceive depth, right? So you can gauge distance much better because you have two eyes. Your eyes are looking at two different screens. And that's how we're able to gauge depth. If you're blind in one eye and I'm only using one eye, it is much more difficult for me to be able to tell how far away something is as opposed to having two eyes, right? So if I'm looking at one screen, you don't have this depth where you can actually kind of augment a three-dimensional environment if you have two displays sitting right next to each other and you're able to do some things with how they're shown to you and stuff like that. But that's effectively how, or a simplistic approach to how VR headsets are working, is they're two different displays sitting very close to your face, but you're able to perceive depth from the image because it's two different displays. There's other things to go along with that, but simplistic approach. So one thing I'm worried about with this is in order for a lot of these VR headsets to work, they actually have to be able to move the displays left and right because not everybody's pupils are the exact distance apart. So in order for you to be able to see the display, because a lot of times they kind of, and I don't know if Apple's doing this, but they will only render the center of the image clear, and then they kind of cheat and blur out the outsides because it costs less processing in order to do that. So if you don't have the displays completely centered, right, and your optics aren't completely centered, things can get blurry and you're not looking at the correct part of the image. So the IPD, or the interpupillary distance, I don't know if they're able to adjust that. The pixel pitch, right, since displays are right next to your face, I'm kind of worried about perceiving a screen door effect because that's one of the biggest drawbacks currently hampering VR headsets is when they're right next to your face, you can see the pixels. It's like being able to put a 480p TV right flat screen or something right in front of you. You would be able to see the pixels. Or if you're on a wall, right, Samsung the wall, and you go for a lower pixel density, if you're close enough, you're able to see very easily the individual pixels, and it creates, when the display is close enough to you, what's called a screen door effect, and it looks like you're looking through a screen door because you can see the outlines of every individual pixel. So my worry here is, are we going to be able to perceive any of that, or has Apple figured out a way around that? Because the display itself is, I think it's probably 2 5K panels, which other headsets have used, and you can still see the pixel pitch. You can still see the individual pixels, and I don't know how Apple is going to get around that. Maybe they have.
They strongly advertise it that way, though, right, Ryan? As far as they're acting like you won't be able to see pixels. That's one of their claims. So I guess we'll see.
It'd be really cool if they figured it out. Really cool.
What about compatibility from that standpoint? Because a lot of the VR stuff that exists as far as games is not on the Apple ecosystem. So how is that going to work?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So you won't be able to play like your PS. Well, so here's the interesting thing. They show in the demo, I think, that somebody had an actual controller
PlayStation remotes on like an Apple because you can just Bluetooth them.
So I think you will be able to play like your gaming console with it.
It's not going to be locked to the Apple ecosystem.
You can Bluetooth those remotes to your Apple device, though. They don't have to only be used on a PlayStation.
Well, I just mean from a software perspective. So like the Steam has a bunch of VR titles and the PC side has a lot of VR. As far as I know, Apple hasn't really been in this space. So if you're locked to like the Apple world, as far as your OS or your hardware, are you or not? First, that's the question. If you are, buy all your library again because, you know, maybe somebody knows in here, but
yeah,
I haven't heard that information yet.
It'd be really interesting if they allowed it to be open. That'd be huge, which I doubt they will. But that would be super cool. But maybe the premise is more it's augmented reality than it is VR. And if it's that, then I could see it being super cool.
Yeah.
I wish they could have the headset be open, though, and be able to look through it instead of using cameras and then kind of have screens that you can see. But maybe they will be. Maybe this is the first version. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't have a whole lot of experience with VR. I've played with the Steam version and I've played with the HoloLens from Microsoft. My brother had one of those for a while. That was amazing. That was an AR, augmented reality. And it gave you a taste for where that technology can go. And this is some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the trailer material looks like the same. It looks really cool. I mean, it's so uncanny to know what your living room looks like, but then have a digital overlay of something that stays fixed. Like it draws a vase on the table and you move your head around and the vase stays on the table. It's like your brain can't even figure out how this is happening. It's kind of jaw dropping.
It's pretty trippy, that's for sure.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think you guys are right on. I've been watching your comments and putting some of those up on the screen. Leadership Push says the MKBHD said that you can't see the pixels. He had a chance to check that out at the Apple event.
Oh, he did? Oh, well, that's. I mean, that'd be super cool if you can't.
Yeah. And
that's one of the things holding VR back.
Marquez has no problem like saying this thing's trash if it's trash. So he seemed pretty decently excited. So, but yeah, of course there's Chris, man, you know. Oh, mercy, Chris. That would be pretty wild.
Whatever gets you going.
That's expensive, man. So probably be cheaper to find a girlfriend, wouldn't it?
Maybe they could do it together.
All right. Next update. Where are we at? Star number. Great question, though, man. Appreciate it, Brandon. Yeah, last time I said your name, I got demonetized. So, hi, guys. Any thoughts on the Epson EF12 projector? Thanks in advance. I'm not familiar with that one. What do you guys think? Y'all know?
I never heard of it either.
EF12, Epson EF.
I call myself an Epson directive.
What is that? My big photo has one. Oh, it's a portable, like $1,000. I'll see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, it's a little bitty, kind of a one you can put it in the living room, drop it anywhere. I'm always skeptical about things like this.
They got Shaq holding it with one hand like he's palming a basketball.
Yeah, they look goofy. You know, it's a 1080p projector, so you know it's not going to be 4K. I think nowadays, like I don't even look at. I mean, if you're thinking projector, if you want this thing to be over 100 inches, you know, I would want a 4K display. And if you're wanting to do it just small, like, you know, 60 inches, 80 inches, 1080p is going to be fine.
I think instead of that, I'd probably do something like a Samsung Freestyle. That's even cheaper.
Samsung. Oh, I've heard of that. Samsung Freestyle.
Super portable. It's nothing special. You'd really need a dark room to be able to get it to work. But my neighbor across the street, I just sold one to him. Loves it.
That looks a whole lot better than the
loves it.
Up to 100 inches. So if you need more than 100 inches, it's not going to work.
Nope. They use it in their bedroom.
That's pretty wild. They just showed them laying on the bed looking up at the ceiling. That's pretty wild. Cool, man. See, again, man, technology. I love it. Pushing the boundaries.
I can't even find a lumen rating on that thing. On that Epson.
He might not.
They're not making it easy to find.
You think it's 1,000?
Well, it said that in that little thing that you put
that
up.
One. Oh, in the little video. Chris says that Into the Spider or Across the Spider-Verse is superb. They actually re-uploaded that movie to theaters with a new sound mix. Cool.
Wonder if K-Scape got an update.
I don't know. I have to check it out.
I'm gonna go
Brandon,
look.
got any thoughts on turntables? So I don't do a whole lot of 2-channel listening.
None of us do.
Especially with turntables. So Jonathan?
No, I avoid them.
Okay. So they're cool. I mean, people like them. Just don't have any experience with them.
Not
Eddie
our jam.
says,
Well,
Eddie
I said this on another podcast, but I'll say it real briefly. We compared like a high-end CD player versus a high-end record player at one of the meets over in Des Moines, Iowa.
Mhm.
One of the guys who's a record player fanatic, and we had the Adele brand new record album and a brand new CD.
Right.
They were mastered, best of format. I just didn't. After I did that, I was just thinking, like, why would anyone listen to the record player? I mean, it's adding all that pops and crips and claps and just little sounds, kind of like you're sitting by a fireplace or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I think that's a vibe. Don't you think it's more?
I guess it just doesn't sound clean, and all the bass was removed. And as far as
into
that goes,
distortion,
yeah. But I think, like I said, it's definitely a genre. It's definitely, I mean, there's a huge following, for turntables, and so I would say, go listen to some places if you've got some local shops that have turntables that you can sit down and listen to and see if you like that style, see what it presents. And if it does, go for it. But I'm too lazy, man. I change songs way too quickly. I don't sit down and listen to a whole album, for an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long they are. So that'd be hard for me because I'd be wanting to put in a new disc every half song. So Eddie says, do all Buckeye amps come only with XLR terminals? How do you connect a receiver with RCA? Would the RCA XLR connection be unbalanced and basically worse than RCA to RCA?
No.
Go, Jonathan.
No, you don't have to even pay very much money for it. Monoprice makes a premium connector that's RCA to XLR. They work great. They don't introduce noise as long as they're short runs. It'll work fine.
I mean, they're unbalanced. But
somebody told me, I don't remember if maybe it was from Buckeye. I think he mentioned get a cable instead of an adapter.
Jonathan, are you drinking bleach?
No, it's just blue glass.
Oh,
there you go. I think he mentioned that during the podcast. That he would recommend doing an actual XLR to RCA cable versus like an adapter for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, I mean they make it pre-made, like the Monoprice one I mentioned. It has XLR on one end and a RCA on the other, and it's a cable you can get 1.5 feet long.
Okay.
I've used those for years.
I thought you meant it was an adapter.
Yeah, like they don't introduce any noise as long as they're short.
Okay. Cool, man. Chris says Flash is coming next week. Watching it in Dolby the following Wednesday. Cool, man. If you have a mini DSP, Schmock91 says, if you have a mini DSP 2x4 HD, does that negate the need or benefits of having a receiver with 4 independent sub outs? Great question, because we know a lot of the new AVRs and processors are now coming with 4 independent subwoofer outputs. So are these new AVRs and these new processors with 4 independent out, is that definitely going to give folks the opportunity to dial those subwoofers in without the need for a 2x4 HD? I'm assuming there's definitely some major benefits to using a 2x4 HD, more flexibility. But do you think that's a good solution?
I don't think the question has changed that much. There's people that would just use a single subwoofer out and use a mini DSP. So I mean, having 2 versus 1 versus 4, if you prefer doing the mini DSP, it doesn't really change that scenario. So, but I don't think you have to have the mini DSP if you're only mixing subs in your room, for instance. That's the benefit now. So you could have 3 subs or 4 subs in your room, have them corner loaded in all 4 corners or mid wall placed or front and back. You have more options. Plus you could run a tactile transducer off one of them or whatnot with the new receivers. It's allowing you to potentially have more options. And we've talked about this before too. If you still want to fine tune your impulse response, your time delays precisely, you can't do that with an AVR.
Right.
At least not a big
not
box
at a budget
AVR.
level.
Right.
Yeah.
And the mini DSPs are also going to allow you to have a more granular control over your subs EQ, not just with your impulse response. Some of them are like black boxes. I mean, you don't know what the room EQ is doing now. If you do like Denon and Marantz's upgrade with their app and stuff, you can do some much more granular PEQ stuff, but not everybody wants to do that. And I'd say that a mini DSP is just a lot more flexible, gives you a lot more options for deployment.
Sure. Like I said, I think you're going to be able to dive deeper. Can you get a great experience with just an AVR with 4 subwoofer outputs? Probably going to depend on the room correction software that's built in. Some of them do it a little bit better than others, and it also depends on where you put these subwoofers. If you're putting them in some really challenging spaces in your room, the subwoofers are kind of fighting against each other, then that AVR is going to do a whole lot of processing to try to fix that. And so it may not be able to do a great job versus with the 2x4 HD, you physically are measuring 1 at a time and then 2 at a time and 3 at a time, making sure, you can physically see how are these interacting in the room. And then you can either make some adjustments to time align, EQ, or physically move the subwoofer to see if you can get a better frequency response. So again, I think you got a lot more flexibility with 2x4 HD, but I'm excited that we've got AVRs now doing 4 independent sub outs. So at least
that's huge.
They're at least able to time align these. And now do they EQ them?
Yes.
The AVRs?
They EQ them all separately and uniquely.
Cool. So see,
this was a big year for AVRs and AVPs. That was a big transition.
Yep.
The cool thing is if you end up upgrading your AVR and it's got 4 independent, try it. See if it sounds great. See if it measures great. If it does, you might not need to go to a 2x4 HD, but if it's not where you want it to be, then I would definitely look at, investing in it. And, I would imagine there's a big difference in the learning curve though. 2x4 HD versus just the AVR kind of doing its thing.
I kind of feel like if you bought a Denon or Marantz, kind of a big box store, and you had 4 independent subwoofer outs on that unit, and you had 4 subwoofers, and we're not talking tactile transducers, but just subwoofers. Right. I think it would do the job, and I don't think you need a mini DSP in most cases.
Yeah, and I think that's the crux of what he's just asking. Like, could it do a great job?
Yep.
Cool. Chris, Youthman, he was referring back to how long we've been doing this podcast. So he said it was after your early 2022 Kansas City trip. So I guess that was 6 months before M-Wave then. Nice. We've been doing this longer than I thought. That's awesome. Charlie B says, looking at 2 Power Sound Audio 15-inch subs, room is 13 foot by 15 with 7-foot high ceilings. Sealed or ported. He's 50% music, 50% movies. So it's not a massive room. My room's 13 by 19 with 10-foot ceilings. 2 15-inch PSAs.
Is your room sealed or is it open to another part of the house? Maybe he won't get back to us in time, but that plays into the decision. Because the reason you would get sealed in that kind of situation is because you want to try to have a little bit of that subsonic, like below 20 hertz type bass. And if you have an open room, if that room is open to the rest of the house, you're not going to get that. It needs a pretty airtight space in order for you to feel any of that was sealed, or they have to be very close to you.
Yeah. Charlie, let us know if your room is sealed or if it's like open floor plan kind of thing.
We mentioned JTR earlier in the show as being one way to get past SVS, and PSA is another. It's not fair to leave them off the table because they have some very big subwoofer power options with 21, 24-inch drivers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think we did. We said Internet Direct.
Yeah.
We just didn't mention anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fair enough.
PSA, Rhythmic.
GSG audio. There's options out there. Direct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Dr. Shu actually reached out to me. I think they want to send me some subwoofers. So,
tell him you want to bring him to M-Wave.
We did.
Okay, what did he say to that?
Not this year.
He said he won't be able to come to M-Wave. Now, he might be willing to send one, but I just don't think he's going to be able to bring the team.
Do it. We'll include it in the SVS comparison.
Okay. I'll reach out to Dr.
Boom.
The Klipsch versus SVS versus HSU VTF 15H.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Man, Ryan, your stress level is going to be out the roof.
It's increasing already.
We're past it.
I'm doing it to myself.
We want to do some fun stuff, so it's definitely going to be good.
Yeah, but look, I'm a masochist. I'm like, do it! And I'm going to be stressing myself out even more.
Right. Make it happen. So Mike Ortiz, hey guys, any suggestions to stop door rattles when the bass hits? Have a closet door and the bedroom door that shakes violently with bass. Have dual subs with the SVS isolation feet installed. My first suggestion would be
turn it up.
No. I gotta remember what it's even called, but it's like a little strip of rubber.
Weather stripping.
Weather stripping. So just take some weather stripping and get it like Home Depot, Lowe's. You can order it on Amazon. Just get it, strip that on there, put that in between the door and the jamb. And
yeah, you could. My suggestion would be, and this is what I've used, is I use
Blue Tack.
It's air conditioner foam, like to seal gaps around in-window AC units. Oh, let me find it.
Where are you putting that, Ryan? Just spread it over your whole wall?
No, it's in between my doors. It's in between the doors.
Can you open the door and shut the door?
Well, mine are sliding doors, but they have different thicknesses of it, but it's not as dense. It's more cushy.
I'm thinking of that spray foam in a can.
No, it's not spray foam.
Like great stuff.
I'm like, what in the world is he talking about,
That's
man?
what I thought you were talking about too.
No,
the yellow great stuff.
No, God, people.
Weather stripping is a great idea. I've had that on my doors.
It's AC unit weather seal. Hold on.
I use that on my theater.
It's this stuff. Share screen. Are you not gonna window this share? It's this. So it's not as dense and it provides more cushion.
Okay.
Because it's more foam-like than rubber.
I see.
So I use this to block light and so that my doors, when they come together, it's like a nice cush. It's not like they're running into rubber, and it works really well. Yeah. It doesn't. Some of it has adhesive on the side, and it'll expand out.
Yeah.
So it comes really thin. You just need to look at the thickness that you want, and then.
So if he has a traditional door, though, there's like a triangular weather stripping that basically just makes it so when it latches, it pushes against that triangle weather stripping.
Or you could use that.
That works pretty good for most doors if you don't have barn doors.
Yeah. Yeah, see, JD was thinking the same thing. He said, I was thinking of the foam shenanigans too.
Here goes Ryan again, spraying the spray foam everywhere. Wife comes down. What's all this yellow stuff?
That's funny. That's
not really how my wife talks. Wouldn't that be funny?
Oh, goodness, man.
Now I'm just imagining us at the altar and she's going, I do. Just,
you're still sharing your screen.
Well, no, this is K-Scape. There you
go. Okay. I'll star in some more questions. All right. So good question there, Mike. Appreciate it. Hope that helps. RJ says, hey, my Denon has a pre-out for Zone 2, but can I use it to with an amp to power my center channel speaker? No, that's not going to work, my friend. Yeah, your Zone 2 typically is like your stereo. It's like a left and right channel. I don't see how you'd be able to utilize that to trying to think what's he trying to accomplish here. Denon has a pre-out. Can I use it to
maybe his Denon doesn't have pre-outs.
Okay. Yes.
Zone 2.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that. Unfortunately, if you don't have pre-outs for your dedicated like center channel left, right, you can't make that up with a Zone.
This would be a time when you probably need a new AVR.
Yeah. I know a guy. Bodie says, Youth Man, I have a question about your subs being off the ground. So if you don't know, my subs are they're about 3 foot off the ground, roughly. Okay, I'm trying to understand.
Due to my new AT screen.
Okay, go ahead. May need to put my front sub on the platform with LCR, which puts the sub off the floor. Do you think it affects the sound? So great question. So there are a lot of people. I was actually recently at my trip to Wisdom Audio. They were even talking about, a lot of times you can get creative and put your subs in the ceiling. You can put a sub in, built into a wall. So I I think it'll affect, wherever you put it in the room, it's going to impact it. But to necessarily say by bringing it up off the ground, it's going to, super change that. In the past, I've always heard if you raise a subwoofer up, then you lose, or maybe I'm thinking like speakers, you lose some of the low frequency.
Word of caution here.
I've never measured that.
This is dependent on your crossover.
What's that?
If your crossover's high and you start putting your subwoofers in weird places, you're going to be able to localize that sound.
Yeah, but why? You shouldn't be using really high crossovers.
What is Jonathan? What is your crossover?
I use 90.
But that, I don't think that, I mean, I'm thinking like 120. You definitely don't want
some depends on the speaker. But if you have 120 hertz crossover, and if you put the speakers behind the screen, that'll blend better with your mains.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But if you put them in the ceiling, you're going to be able to localize that more than likely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think Michael was on point with the fact that it will change the sound, but it's not going to degrade the sound per se. It's no different than, say, you moving it 5 feet to the left if you move it 3 feet in the air. It's just a different place in 3D space in your room, and it's going to have different interactions with your room walls and your boundaries. So as to better or worse, that's going to be specific to your room and placement. But it's not like a bad thing to have it. I mean, I remember some calibrators talking about, to get the best acoustics, they raised the subwoofer up in the air on purpose, because in that particular room, that was a place in 3D space where the model showed it with best. And heck, Doug in Kansas City, he did the same thing. He put his subwoofers in the ceiling because they modeled the best with the software in the ceiling.
Doug has so much output in his subs, though, it wouldn't matter where he put them. They'd be the
put them in the garage and you feel them, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a crazy setup. But yeah, good question there, Billy. What I do? Okay, I just turned it off. There we go. So Dirty Motley says, Youth Man, who can I send some simple drawings of my room to help tell me how to lay my Atmos in-ceiling speakers? I mean, honestly, there's probably a lot of people. I don't know I usually don't put my name out there, because
I'm just kidding. Send them to me.
I've got so much going on in my life, man. I mean, if you can imagine, I get countless emails and DMs, and it's just hard to keep up. Ryan volunteers.
I'm a dealer. It's part of what I feel like I owe this community. Even if people aren't buying from me, I want to be able to help them on their journey.
Yeah. Might buy something down the road. Never know.
Not to discount what Ryan's saying. He's a good resource for it. You could also go to Dolby's website and get their speaker specification.
That's what I'm going to end up referring you to anyway.
Yeah, and then the Discord, the M-Wave Discord, has a lot of chat in there, and there's people that are actively interacting, trying to help people out with questions exactly like this, or AVS.
That Discord will ruin you, though.
They get spend money.
First hit is free.
Brian says, did I hear you right that if you don't live in Kansas City, you don't have to pay tax?
Shh.
Needing a new Marantz.
Send me an email.
Schmuck91, what would your opinion be of 2 rhythmic FB 15 HPs through a mini DSP to fill a 1380 square foot room?
I love those subs.
Yeah, I've heard great things about rhythmic.
Great subs.
A ton of output, great price point.
Very good control. Can't make them make a bad sound.
And that's not a huge room either. 1380, right?
Yeah, you'd be super happy with that.
No, the rhythmics would be great.
Mm-hmm. Mark Glant says, SVS, I wish they launched an 18 or 21-inch seal that could hit 10 hertz. It can be done and still have high Wi-Fi acceptance factor since it's sealed. Yeah, I've actually had conversation with Nick and some of the team at SVS, and that really is not even on their radar and their roadmap.
Why not? Why wouldn't they want to do that?
They just don't want to get into it. Their bread and butter is the masses. And when you start getting 18-inch and 21-inch, the amount of people, it narrows.
I mean, think about how many more of their smaller subs that they sell, and as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, I mean, we're in the minority.
Their best-selling sub is like the PB1000.
Yeah, I hear you, but it's the same reason like those sports cars are developed for the any of the car manufacturers. They don't sell those things very much, but they're out there on the track saying, "Hey, Ford has this vehicle or whatnot."
Yeah, but they're marked up like 5 zillion %.
Sure, but SVS could do the same thing. This is our new flagship Halo product. It costs $5,000. It's 21-inch driver.
But then do you want to open yourself up for the competition with the other big boys that are in that space?
Hadn't heard them yet. SVS has had competitors for 20 years.
I guess. I mean, that's a good point.
I just don't think it's in their business model. Like that's not the people that they're after. You know, they're just trying to get people into home theater, provide, you know, an amazing product. Yeah. I just think it's going to narrow their, now, not to say that they won't ever do that, but just in my conversations with them, they're like, yeah, we don't have any plans. Cause I was asking them if they were going to come out with an 18 and they said, nah.
I'd like to talk to that guy that you're talking about because I don't understand that. Because think about this, when we started this hobby, when I got heavy into this hobby in 2011, SVS was like top game in town.
100%.
They were the best. They
Absolutely.
beat Velodyne. They beat like the other players that were previously the best. They were the flagship product. Everyone on the forum, you want the best subwoofer, you go to SVS.
Yep, that's correct.
They've been supplanted. They're not the best anymore. That was their legacy.
Yeah.
Now they're more like I'm not gonna say run of the mill because they still make a good product.
Yeah, absolutely. But they're kind of more common, and they've got some other people that are.
But think about how many more players in the industry there are now than there were then.
Absolutely, but their legacy is like the top, and now they don't even have a player in the top. So something seems weird about.
If you still sell, maybe you don't need to innovate. I don't know.
Boo! That's my.
If you still sell, you don't need to innovate.
I mean,
that sounds like a short-lived business model.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Nick will be at M-Wave.
No,
just go ask him straight
up.
Have
to go talk to him a little bit.
Yeah. Nick's a
doing,
great
man?
dude.
Now I'm just imagining Jonathan and Nick coming to fisticuffs. Why won't you sell your stuff?
I want a bigger sub. Yeah, Nick's a great dude. I think him and Larry are going to be there. So
that's cool.
Them, yeah.
Be a lot of big players in the industry that people are going to be able to meet there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the cool thing is you're actually going to get to meet the owners and the people that design these. Eric Wiederholtz, if I hope I pronounce his name right, with Perlison. I mean, he designs these speakers. So him and Dan won't be there, but he and Dan, you know, started the business. So, but yeah, you'll be able to ask them direct questions. Nick from Stereo Integrity, owner of Stereo Integrity. So lots of folks there you're going to get to talk directly to and have access to. And with it being a more intimate, you know, we don't have thousands of people coming to the show. You're going to have more time to spend with them and ask those questions. So, Brian, good to see you, buddy. Brian says, for a non-ideal 5.1 setup, he's got a couch against the living room, the rear wall in the living room. How would you handle rear surrounds in the corners? RP502S2s or a regular bookshelf aimed slightly inward? Other ideas. So to me, the challenge when you have something right up against the wall is you can't place speakers behind you. So sometimes, you know, you can do something like maybe an in wall that has a wide dispersion. That's an option. The RP502S is a dipole kind of speaker. So it's going to fire sound out one direction and also out the other direction. So that can work as well. Sometimes you can even take the two speakers and instead of trying to put them behind you, put them on your side walls and face them towards you. Again, I don't think there's going to be an ideal situation because you are right up against that back wall.
So I had this problem in my last house. Jonathan, you've seen it when I had the couch right up against the kitchen wall thing. What I ended up doing is I put a small table directly behind me. It gave me a little bit of space, and then I put two bipole Martin Logan FX2s, exactly Klipsch's, what Michael was talking about with Klipsch. This was Martin Logan's variant. And the reason you do that, at least in my eyes, is because it vastly increases the dispersion and allows you to not localize the speaker as much. Because if you put a bookshelf there or even a traditional in-wall, you're going to be able to localize that with no problem. It's just going to be there. And you don't want to be able to do that.
My speakers are probably more expensive than that person might be requesting since he's mentioning the RP502S, but I think the JBL CBTs might be a great option because if you place them high, the J curve on the bottom has faded, attenuated drivers. So the person that's immediately under them is not going to be blasted out. It's attenuated on that J curve. And the flat part is shooting the majority of the SPL out to the far seat. So they have this characteristic that has less SPL fall off at distance when you have them in that type of arrangement. So you could basically do something like those CBTs, set them up high, and you have pretty even sound coverage across your whole seating area. It's a atypical recommendation, but it might be something to look into.
It's valid. It's valid. They're good speakers.
Smeg says, scale of 1 to 5, how much better is native 4K projector than an E-Shift? That's a cool question, man. My thoughts on it, I don't know. If you're sitting at a decent distance, let's just say like in my setup, 9 feet, I'm not sure if I did a blind A/B comparison, I'd be able to tell the difference between, if everything was comparable. I mean, that's what's hard, because typically, you know, the native 4K is going to be by one manufacturer. E-Shift is going to be by another. So now there's different technologies, there's different dynamics there that come into play. So it's hard to do an apples to apples comparison. But just in what it's doing, I think if you pixel peep, yeah, you might be able to see some differences.
Are you allowed to put up test patterns, or is this in real world content?
See, my thought is real world content.
No. Because,
I mean, I'm thinking a test pattern. I mean, nobody's studying test pattern. I mean, some people are, but
I can't see it.
Yeah.
Unless you get some really weird anomaly in a movie that allows you to see it. No.
Jonathan, you've done some of those tests, right? I think
I have, and it really relies on the image processing. Like my LS 12,000, in my opinion, from my seats at 12 or 13 foot away, has better sharpness than my JVC NZ7.
Yeah.
On real world content.
Right.
You go to test pattern or super fine text like an Excel document, the JVC wins. But the image enhancement, the image processing that the Epson does from my seats with real stuff, I think it looks sharper. And not only me, but some of my guests that have been over here have said the same thing.
Yeah.
I have a video on that on my channel that kind of showcases that as best you can through a video. But it's everyone talks about it's got to be 4K. I'm not sure that's
Plug
the
him.
case. I'm not sure that's the case.
I think Michael's already doing it.
I am, man. Boom, I'm already there.
If you type in Epson LS 12,000 versus JVC NZ7 sharpness test, you'll find that video. And it's kind of telling. I mean, it's not, I'm just using an iPhone camera. I don't have fancy gear for that type of perspective, but I think you can still see.
All right, I'm going to drop it in the chat.
Juan, it's the 70J1.
Yeah, CBT 70J1.
Yep.
And there's a thread on ABS forum that has a lot of information on that I made in the last month or so. So you can kind of get a lot of background scoop.
They're really good speakers, and you actually see them come up in Dolby Cinemas and stuff if you're paying attention. I'm going to plug myself again. If you need them, let me know. I am a Harman dealer. Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
Ryan's a dealer for everybody.
No, I was just going to mention that they are expensive, but you don't have to pay full price for them. If you watch eBay or the used market, you might be able to get them for half price or a little less, potentially, if you're okay with a used speaker. And that's one way to get it down to the ballpark of what you were kind of looking at with those Klipsch, perhaps.
I'm praying to the home theater gods.
I don't think there are any.
Not in my theater. I'm a lost cause. I've departed. My soul was given to bass, and it's over.
You're never
Jonathan ruined me years ago.
Never lost cause, man. Donald Watson says, does anyone know why rear heights don't push or put out as any sound information from or with front Atmos at the same time?
There's no object.
Rear heights don't put out any sound information with front Atmos at the same time.
There's no sound there.
So is he talking about rear heights versus front heights instead of front Atmos, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, I guess.
Rear heights.
Ryan nailed it. An Atmos object basically can be programmed to be moved around the theater. And if it's an object and it's programmed to be up front, you're not going to hear it at the same time. But at the same I mean, they could also have like Gravity has an
Two
intro
objects.
scene, right? Where
Mhm.
all the speakers are like at the very intro of that thing. So you would hear it at the same time there. It just depends on the source.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, depends on how they coded it.
And it can also depend on your AVR pre-pro and how it's handling those objects. Because sometimes if you've got like 6 ceiling speakers or 6 tops, and there's only 4 coming from the mix, your mixer can kind of screw that up. So there's a lot of variables in that.
Chris Contreras, sorry. Your thoughts on buying audio from accessories for less? Man, I've heard nothing but good things from them. A lot of guys have bought that from them. They're refurb units, but my understanding they give you the same warranty as
It's
a
only
factory.
a year.
Well, but I think it's.
I mean, it's a standard refurb warranty, which is a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They give you the same warranty. Yeah.
It's not a full warranty though. It's a refurb warranty.
Okay. No.
Because like take JVC for example, if I get a B stock JVC, it's 1 year warranty, whereas a new one's 3.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's your standard refurb warranty, which is typically a year, if I'm not mistaken. At least that's how my Yamaha was when I bought it.
I was trying to see on their website what they say. You sell, it looks like a extended warranty if you want to buy that.
Yeah.
Warranty.
Chris, my advice though would be, maybe I'm doing myself a service. Find a dealer that you trust. Would be my advice.
Chris, Ryan, about that stress, potentially I can offer some extra help where you need it, or a hug. Just saying. So just know that you got support, Ryan. You don't have to do this alone. Chris has got your back.
If I didn't know Chris, I'd be a little weirded out by that one, but he means well.
Chris is cool, man. He's a good dude. Chris has hooked us up with not only the M-Wave Kansas City dining experience list of cool places to eat in Kansas City on the website, but he's also hooked us up recently with coffee shops. So if you're a coffee drinker, we now have a place on the website that you can find all the Kansas City coffee. So Chris, appreciate you, brother.
These guys are saying that a lot of accessories for less products have full 3-year warranties. So
that's what I thought.
I guess it depends on the product.
Yeah. But as far as like their reputation, they've been solid over the years for a long time. I've just personally never bought anything from them. Meditelli says, thoughts on rails. Best Buy has them in a new theater room, but I mean a Best Buy room. So there's that. Love it, dude. Best thing to do is go hear them for yourself, even if it is at Best Buy.
Yep.
And
I think there's better subs for the money.
Ask them if you can calibrate it for them. Dial in.
Put this in perspective. The first time I met Jonathan, I had 2 Rel 212 SEs, and I go into Jonathan's room, and he has his 818s, and he turns something on, and I thought my 212s were the bees.
The Mac Daddy.
I thought they were awesome. And after he plays something, I just go, my subs don't do that. So they're pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, the Predator subs are decent. I mean, they're not bad. I think there's better subs for the money.
CJ says, with the Kaleidoscape, how long does a movie take to be shown from the cinema? I think that's really up to the
studio.
What do they call it? Not the production. What do they call those?
Studios.
So it depends on when they release them.
As an example, so Top Gun came out on 4K release in November, right? I had Top Gun in August. The other one was I had Avatar, The Way of the Water in February.
Mm-hmm.
What's another big release? This one wasn't as early, but I had John Wick like 3 weeks early before it came out on 4K release. So it depends on what the studio does. Sometimes you can get them really early while they're still in the theater, and other times it's a couple weeks early. Sometimes it's the same day. Usually it's at least a couple weeks early.
I'm looking at other questions here. All right, got a few more. How are we doing on time? All right, so we'll start to wrap up here in a few minutes. So Rick says, should I go with 7.2.4 of JBL synthesis, the SCL6 LCR behind the screen, or a Rendell 1723 THX towers and a center channel and surrounds? Also love music and will double as a 2-channel listening system. Always love these.
Has he heard either of them? Yeah.
What's that?
Has he heard either of them?
Yeah, no. It's hard. It's hard to hear a Rendell. It's probably easier to get access to JBL synthesis.
That's gonna be hard to hear unless you're a dedicated dealer in your area.
Yeah, synthesis is expensive enough that it's not common.
Well, but like, I mean, like they have those at, well, I guess then again, you're doing CEDIA. You'd have to have access to that.
So
they had a big setup there.
It's hard to beat JBL. Price for performance.
I've heard great things about a Rendell though, for sure. I think
I just haven't heard them.
They're making some waves. Yeah, I've reviewed one of their subs and I was really impressed with it. But I haven't heard their towers or their monitor speakers, bookshelves, but I've heard great things, about them.
How much are they? A Rendell 1723 THX.
Rendell 1723 THX. Tower THX are by now. Ryan, what's your credit card number? $3,700 a pair.
No.
No what?
It's too much.
The synthesis, how much are those though?
Crutchfield's got them for $1,300 each.
I feel like we get asked about these Arendelle 1723 about every other week. We should probably ask that company to send us a pair to listen to at MWave because
they market a lot. They're all over Facebook.
I mean, how? Yeah.
Dude, do you realize like if I could get companies to send us stuff, man, that's gonna be fun. Like, how would we do that? We would just set them up, a little 2-channel setup, or
just set them up.
I would love that. I mean, we'd eat that up.
Yeah, I mean Ryan's already got a music listening station in his house. He just ports that over there and have as many as you want in there, and just let people cycle through. And
I got like 7 speaker switches sitting in my basement. I mean, we're ready to rock and roll.
Ryan, doesn't have to be anything formal. Just let them switch.
Do y'all remember a list of who we need to contact? Because I've got the contact for a Rendell. I've got.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll reach out to Dr. Shu. Well, we can ask Klipsch. Send one of their subwoofers, SVS.
My comparison station's looking a little empty because of all the demos got flipped. So it's I need to restock it. I mean, I got stands and stuff for bookshelves to put them at ear level. We got all kinds of different stuff.
Either way, we're gonna have some fun. So okay, all right. Keep that a mental note when we get off here, and I'll write them down. I'll send them an email tonight.
I'm creating more work for myself.
Yeah, it may happen.
But it doesn't have to be that much work, right? Because at the point, if you could just set up your listening station and just let it run itself,
just let them hear it.
People just walk in there and they push A, B, C, D, and they just listen and see what they like.
Well, that's what we did with what I had in there before. Yeah.
Okay. So Walter Pyers says, Ryan, running Paradigm Signature 8s, looking at monoblock Buckeye or Emotiva. We kind of talked about that earlier.
I already answered that. Buckeye every day.
There were 2 super chats.
Does anybody disagree?
No, is that the same guy asking the same question?
No, different guy.
I think it's different. So
yeah, we had a good section on that.
Watch the replay on that. We had a long, lengthy discussion on that. Darren Doc, appreciate the $10 super chat. Considering adding more subs, it's always a good thing, right? I currently have 4, 1 in each corner. Advice on starting locations to try. So if he's got 1 in each corner of the room, but I guess my first question is, why do you want more?
My first question is, what subs are they?
Yeah, and what are you missing from? Because 4 typically, like, that's pretty solid. You should be getting pretty good seat to seat if they're dialed in.
Depends on his room.
Yeah, but I mean, 4 is better than 2 or 1. That's what I mean by that. Man, yeah, like, all right. So when you move beyond 4, if they're in the corners, do you go mid wall?
Mid wall is generally considered better than corners for a native flat frequency response. Those Harman white paper subwoofer white papers kind of displayed that. So corners will give you more low bass. It'll get more boundary gain because you got the floor and you got both walls, and so you got 3 boundaries to bounce off. But sometimes it adds too much lower bass, so you end up having to cut it out. Mid wall gives a more natural response. There's only 2 borders, and generally speaking, that's the better placement. But these new receivers, they're only having corners. So if you bought one of these new receivers that have 4 subwoofer outputs, they expect you to have them in the 4 corners. It's like left front, rear right, rear left. So you wouldn't do mid wall with those. Just play with them, man. Move them around, rerun auto EQ each time you move them. So that you have your right SPL distances and everything. Measure them, see how they sit, they respond in the seat, and you might find out they're not the best in the corners or mid wall. Like in my room, I was told the guys my best placement was on the front wall, kind of.
And you don't have an ideal room though. I mean, you got like an L-shaped room.
Yep.
So it's not totally enclosed. So that definitely affects.
Yep.
How they interact, but.
I think there's a lot of variables in this question that are unaddressed. We need to know what subs they are, why you feel like you need more subs.
But I think he was just
what
saying,
you're trying to get.
Where would he just start if he ended up buying them? And I would try mid wall, either on your left and right wall or front and back wall. If you stack them, you're just going to get more output, same frequency response. You can hang them in the ceiling, like we talked about earlier. It's a possibility, a whole lot more work.
Sub array.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of ways you could do that. But
read the Harman white subwoofer white paper. Just Google that, Harman subwoofer white paper, and you'll find a PowerPoint slide that's really good. Just kind of get an idea of what they recommend in their testing and their simulations.
Yeah, and nobody says subwoofer better than Jonathan. I love it, man.
Country bumpkin.
Dude, I bet I could like go to sleep just hearing you say subwoofer. Subwoofer. I love it, man. I just think it's awesome. I'm not saying that in a mean way.
No, my wife teases me all the time. It's all right.
I think it's great, man. So Eric, appreciate the $10 super chat. Got my Spears and Munsell disc, but unfortunately ordered the UHD version, which my Oppo 105D does not support. Oh, I didn't put it up there?
No.
I'm sitting here looking at it. Sorry about that. Should I try to get an exchange or should I upgrade for a new player? Which one then? Oh man, good question.
How much is that Oppo worth?
105Ds.
Probably more than he paid for it.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah. The hard part is, can you get a different one without spending, a kidney? Let's see.
Yeah, I mean the go-to is that Panasonic
105D,
420 or the 820.
Looking on eBay.
Like a couple $100,
$300.
Hold on.
No, actually, let me
They're
go
way more than that. That was a 103.
Let me go to sold.
What are sold items?
That's what I'm doing. $679, $1150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not incredibly attached to that Oppo, sell it and buy like a Panasonic or something. You'll get more money out of it, and then you've got 4K capability.
Yeah.
Unless you only have a 1080p display, then it's not worth it.
What you'd be giving up is that Oppo will let you play like MKV files and so forth, ripped content, and then Panasonic won't. But the Panasonic will technically be a little bit better player than that Oppo, I think.
Well, okay. So here's the other thing you could do is just watch for the Panasonic 420 to go on sale. I mean, you can get them for like
should only be about $200. Yeah,
a couple $100. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 820, if you need Dolby Vision, is double price. Yeah.
If it's on sale.
But if you don't need Dolby Vision, don't buy the 820 because there's no benefit otherwise.
Nope. Can you post my email again, Michael? Somebody was asking.
I just saw it.
I mean, the Oppo is an amazing player. I mean, all the Oppos are amazing. So if you can keep it and you're attached to it, I totally get why. The components and stuff that are in them are fantastic. It's just, I don't know that it's worth it. They support a ton of formats. But if you don't use them, I mean, sell it. Lightning round for these questions?
Yeah, a couple more. And then we'll wrap it up. Brian, Iowa says, my room is 30 feet long. Man, that's a big room. But I only use half of it for home theater. I can see. I sit 10 feet back from the screen. Should I have my 2 rear subs right behind my seating or all the way in the back?
I don't think I'd put them all the way in the back.
That's a big room for 2 subwoofers, unless they're massive. Near field would be awesome. But if he's only got 2, would you think that he would get a lot better tactile response from having them near field?
Yeah, I mean, he's describing my room. My room is 28 feet deep, and I sit about 11 feet back from the screen, so it's pretty close situation. I have my rears are near field, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that you got to remember too is if you put those all the way back there, they're 20 feet from your main listening position, which means you're going to have massive fall off by the time the sound even reaches you, and you're going to have to play at exceedingly loud levels for those subs to even hit whatever you're wanting at the main listening position. The closer you can get them, the easier it's going to be. Not overdrive them and not rip your room apart.
I'm a fan of near field, to be honest with you, Brian. I've heard a lot of guys that have implemented them well. Brian, I was looking at your name, Jonathan and Ryan. Seen a lot of different people with near field subs. It's phenomenal, man. I like that better than any other tactile response as far as like butt kickers and the Boss platforms, Hover Boss and Hover Easy and all that. But yeah, I'm a fan. That is for sure.
One nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
If they're sealed near field, absolutely. If they're ported, play with it and see what you like.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't like ported near field, but everyone has their own opinion.
Loser.
I'll tell you why. I've said it before in another podcast, but we'll say it again.
Say it again.
As you near the port tune of a ported subwoofer, the driver stops moving. Like it's moving like this at 45 hertz. It's moving like this at 32 hertz. It's moving like this at 25 hertz. And it's moving like this at 20 hertz. So the driver basically stops. And you can see this on YouTube videos. If you look it up, they put grains of rice on there. As the subwoofer's bouncing that rice around, as it nears port tune, that rice stops shaking completely. So the subwoofer driver is not really even moving at port tune. It's relying on the box mechanics to make the sound. It's the port that's making the sound at that point. What that means is from a tactile perspective, at your port tune, you have no feedback, or at least not the same feedback. The port is making the feedback, but it's in a different location than the driver. So if that driver is trying to be centered on your back, now all of a sudden at 20 hertz or 15 hertz or whatever your port tune is, you feel nothing. That's when you want to feel it. The lower the bass goes, that's when you want to feel it.
Just duct the ports into your back.
So keep that in mind as you decide to do near field. With ported subs, it may be hit or miss.
And see, I love the fact that we've got varied experiences, and that's why I like being able to have each one of you share, what we've all experienced. Because you tried ported and sealed. Ryan's got ported near field in his system and loves it.
Yeah, but the JTR is kind of an enigma.
It's kind of cheats.
Well, his is a 10 hertz port tune, so his is really low, and that's going to be lower than most of your audience for sure.
Hammering. Yeah. All right. Darren Doc, it's like silly, but looking to add more subs. Currently have 4. Okay.
I think you already read this one.
We got that one.
We did.
Yep.
Did we get them all?
Keep going. We got a lot of questions. Rapid fire.
You didn't star none of them.
There's 17 that are starred.
What is going on? Something's weird. So I literally can't see the. You're gonna have to bring it up because
I can see him. Ryan can see him probably.
My screen. I no longer have the tab up there. What happened?
My room will finally be done in 2 weeks. Thanks for all the advice you have given me. What UHD disc players do you own? Recommend. Chat can answer also. Wait, stop clicking buttons.
So you're literally going to have to drive.
I got it. I can't
see any of them.
No, I got it.
Yeah.
You're saying we're almost done. I'm like, dude, there's a ton of questions left.
No,
what are you talking about?
I can't even see. Usually we got the 2 tabs.
All right, then you star if anything else comes up, and we'll just kind of fly through these. So I think we all have the Panasonic. Michael, do you have the Panasonic?
I have a Pioneer
Loser.
UDP LX.
Obviously wrong.
Block button.
Oh,
that was good. See, we'll put you at the bottom. You talk.
Put me up there.
Ah, dang it.
So
yes, I have a.
They're all fine. I mean, I think we typically recommend the Panasonic.
Well, yeah, objectively, it has really good measurements as far as the video quality and so forth. So the Panasonic is the bargain buck right now. Best bang for buck.
Yep.
Specifically talking UB 420 and UB 820. Those two. There's some Sony models that also are highly reviewed, but I don't think they've quite
I did it to myself that time. I hit the back button on my mouse, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah, it seems really. No, I'm definitely not tired of you all. Absolutely not, man. No, I literally thought we were done because I'm looking up at the top and I don't have the tabs anymore to be able to see how many starred comments. So I thought we were wrapping it up.
My 4010 is just 18 months old. That's the confusion. Should I save to buy a JVC?
Yeah. How much do you value that deep dark black? Yeah. Because the JVC is going to have the upper hand there.
Yep.
We saw an amazing picture out of the Epson. Now your 4010, like you said, that's
quite a bit lower than these ones we're talking about.
But if you're looking at a 5050, 6050 LS 12,000 JVC, man, they're all great.
M-Wave.
They're all great projectors.
Yep.
Come see them side by side.
On the fence, Klipsch sub versus Rel. Neither.
I'll be honest.
Agreed.
He laughs and then agrees with me.
I am optimistic on these new ones. Now, their old ones were okay. They were okay.
I forgot about the new ones. You're right.
I'm really hopeful.
You're right.
Yeah, the older subs, unless you go with something like really
Klipsch
old.
subs.
What's that? Yes.
The newer Klipsch subs. And Rel's fine. I just think there's better things for the money.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're only looking at those two.
Why are you only looking at those two? Is there a reason?
And I want to know your budget. Matt, if you're still here, what's your budget? And then we'll make a recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some great subs out there for sure.
Hey guys, Mr. Boyd, I have a RZ50 in the family room set up. Every time I try to run Dirac, I get too much ambient noise. Error message. Any suggestions? Lower your microphone gain. Your noise floor is too high and it can't differentiate. You don't have enough of a difference between your noise floor and the speaker for it to measure and tell the difference. You need a certain amount of dB difference between the noise floor and where the speaker's at in order for the room EQ to work properly. And if you don't, it's not going to work. So
I got it back.
Lower your
noise
floor. So I'm not challenging you so much as just curious because I've not really used Dirac since 8 years ago. You're talking about lowering your Windows sensitivity slider for your microphone. Doesn't that also bring down the SPL of the speaker as far as the sensitivity? So aren't they still going to be in parallel?
It does, but he can turn the speakers up.
The software, sure, but does the software not accommodate for that? Like it won't keep adjusting. Like Odyssey, if it's too low a speaker level, you'll hear it go womp, womp, womp as it's raising the volume to make it palatable for the processing.
How Dirac works is, if I've never done it on the RZ50, how Dirac works is you get this like window that comes up and you have to set your microphone gain, your amplifier gain, and then you have to set the levels of each individual speaker after that. And then you can see your noise floor, and then you have to, it doesn't really tell you this, but you have to make sure that your noise floor is a certain distance below where the speaker's at. It doesn't adjust it for you. You have to do it manually.
I see.
At least that's how it's been. With the ART release, I don't know if they change that. I don't think they would, but yeah. Lower your gain on your microphone and increase the speaker volume, which can also increase distortion from the speaker if the mic picks up the distortion, but unless you can fix your noise floor, I don't know what else you're going to do. JD the expert, could you mount the Samsung Freestyle to the wall?
Didn't it have like a little bracket on the bottom?
I don't know. I've never used one myself. I don't know if you can flip the image.
It looked like it was on a stand and you could rotate it.
You can.
But I don't know if there's like any hole. I guess you could screw some holes in the bottom.
It'd be really cool if they had magnets on the base.
Ooh.
Magnetize it to the wall. Because I know they do that with like networking switches have magnets on them, which is awesome for like little baby switches for little distribution closets. You can magnetize it to a rack. It's awesome.
Nice.
There's an idea. Instead of having like a terminal monitor and a rack, do like a little freestyle projector. Not that would be effective at all. I'm not saying that name.
Idea go full circle in Ryan's mind.
Didn't work. Any thoughts on the XG IMI Horizon Pro 4K projector. Always appreciate it.
I did review one of the XGMEs, but I haven't reviewed that one. It was decent. I mean, I don't think I was blown away by it.
How much is it?
Decent. That one, Horizon Pro 4K, XGME Horizon 4K Pro is buy now. Ryan, what was that credit card again? It is $10 off. That's exciting. $12.75, regular $1,900. So it's like a kind of another one of those little mini weird looking square ones. Does have a base on it. I'll put it up here.
$1,900 regular price, $10 off.
I thought
$12.75.
Look at this right here.
What?
$10 off. I'm dead serious.
I highly doubt that's 2200 ANSI lumens.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm super skeptical about these little.
I'm going to recommend the Freestyle there again, just because my neighbor likes it.
Put it this way too. I mean, think about this. There's a reason why the higher end projectors have this massive case. You know, the lenses that they use in there are just so much different, higher quality.
I mean, I would compare this more to the Freestyle for its size.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is kind of more designed for portability, drag it around the house, put it in the backyard. I don't know.
Our lightning round is losing ground. We have more. We have more coming in.
More questions.
I have one starred question. Here we go. I got Rick.
Pop it.
I only got 1 star question on my end.
I'm halfway sad, but speaking of AVRs, found an SR8015 going on clearance. 4K for now, may go less, but appears that it's going bye-bye before long.
I love the SR8015. It's a great AVR. But we've got new, I mean, for $4,000, that's a lot of money.
better from that.
That's the
newer
thing.
for that.
A lot of money.
I would say better.
Yeah. It's a fantastic projector, but shoot, it was $3,000 when it first came out.
AVR.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Projector.
Bruce Barnes, Ryan, what's your cell phone? You got to email me because I don't want to put that in chat.
I got it here. Wait, Bruce.
I love it, dude.
I'll give you my cell phone number, just not in chat.
All right, Rick, would you recommend putting black theater carpet on the walls to help with sound absorption? My only hesitation there is you're trying to, number one, carpet's pretty thin. It's only going to affect the upper end, the really higher frequencies.
You're going to have dead room.
But you're just like killing all of it. So that's not ideal. Usually you want to mix it up between absorption and diffusion.
Jonathan?
So that's my only start.
You guys nailed it. I wouldn't put carpet on my walls.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd look kind of weird. Be like a room out of the 60s with shag carpet on the walls or some other weird thing.
If you put acoustic treatments behind it, it'd probably be okay. Diffusions and absorption and that kind of stuff. But at that point, you might as well use like Gilliford, a main cloth. And so
you're doing too much to the high frequency. I'd use velvet. Then you're not really affecting anything. Why is Polk always sold out? Are they going under? Medi says, no.
I don't think they're going under.
I just became a dealer for Polk.
I think a lot of places are just struggling.
They're just hard on stuff.
Yeah. Let me throw this one up real quick. Home Theater Nerd, appreciate it. $5 super chat. Do you change modes or settings on your projector when switch between SDR and HDR content? No, I don't. So
what?
I don't.
No, he said he lets it auto do it.
Oh.
I mean, I'm not like changing settings. I've set up my projector.
I was like, what are you doing?
And then now with MadVR,
MadVR, you have it set in SDR the whole time.
Yeah, but I don't change settings, even other settings on the projector.
You guys scared me for a second.
I'm a one and done.
This is concerning, is what it was. Jedi planning theater 2.0 room dimensions 12 by 28 by 20. Should I be considering multiple JTR RS2s or multiple cap 4Ks? Room will have proper room treatments and Trinov processing.
Your room's big enough that you probably, how much you need multiple? You're going to need more than 2 RS2s in a room that size to get that feel for low stuff or sealed. Because again, your room is similar to what mine is. And 2 RS2s, for instance, is only 4 18s. Without near field, I don't, even with 8 18s, I don't have that real deep low bass feel. You have to have near field for it. So I would recommend cap 4Ks in your case. Losers. Unless you want to put an RS2 near field. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Lay it on its side.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Get 2 seats.
Just come to the dark side. Get enough Cap 4Ks, you can get a cool jacket. There is no jacket. We want there to be a jacket. But
We'll have a
maybe one day
we'll have a
for Mark,
t-shirt
Scott, and
anyway.
myself. For us people that have something wrong with us with this many Cap 4Ks in our room.
M-Wave t-shirt says, come to the dark side.
Yeah, it should. Picture of Jeff as Darth Vader.
What else you got?
Jetty, in addition to my question above, which outdoor JBL speakers would you recommend for a deck and large patio? My recommendation actually for outdoor speakers, if you don't have anything right now and don't have any amplification, is Blue Sound Professional. And the reason being is they are actually powered over PoE. So you can run them using the Blue Sound app and control them that way, but they're powered via PoE. So if you have a switch that can push out PoE, power the speaker, which is super cool because then you don't need an amplifier. So that's what I would do personally. It tremendously increases flexibility because you don't have to worry about amplification, keeping an amplifier watertight or where you're going to put it. You just run Ethernet. And as long as your switch can push out PoE, done.
Lightning round.
That'd be what I would suggest.
Lightning round.
Done. How about an M-Wave suggested lodging list? That's on the website.
I told him I've got hotels on there. I don't have anything else.
Pedro,
Man.
JBL or Klipsch subs?
That's a blanket statement. I mean,
Neither.
I'm not a big fan of JBL subs.
Not their subs. They're PA subs, basically. They're going to be 35 hertz tuned.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
You got to get their, depends on what you're doing. If your room's enormous in an actual cinema home theater, I guess PA subs.
Keep going.
But other than that, neither. Devic, Jonathan, I know you've had both the 5040 and LS12000. Does the LS12000 do HDR good enough to justify the upgrade? My 5040 still works and SDR looks good, but HDR isn't great.
Yes. The 5040 stinks in HDR, and the LS12000 is perfectly acceptable. I really enjoy it. So coming from a 5040 LS12000, I have no reservations. Like, that's a good upgrade. I like it a lot. The end.
Cool. Done.
Are we done?
That's not the end of the start thing.
It's so crazy. This is the first time I've used StreamYard for years, and I literally can't see anything that's starred. So I have no idea if we got 10 or 100 or 0.
Von Damage 87. Is there a reason we haven't seen any models refreshes from the 4K Blu-ray players in the last 4 or 5 years? I mean, what do you want them to change?
Yeah, there's not anything new to add, really. They need to. Well, I'll tell you what they need to do is upgrade the web interface on that panel right there, because that's miserable. It's like 10 years old when it came out.
I think maybe the other thing is what people are missing from the old Oppos is that they would just literally play anything.
But it's copyright material stuff. That's why they got away with it, because they're that kind of no-name Chinese brand. But the big players, they'll never do that because they don't want to violate the copyright stuff. For MKVs and MT2Ss and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
There's a couple more questions here. Hold on.
Okay.
C-Big, Marantz AV10. Which auto cal do you prefer? Dirac or Odyssey, and why?
Good question, Chuck.
I haven't bought the Dirac module yet.
Well,
so
you or I, neither of us use Room EQ.
Right.
True.
I'd say Dirac. I'm going to say this came from Marantz and Denon, or Massimo themselves. They say, for the average Joe, Odyssey, the reason Dirac is behind a paywall is because it allows them to keep their price down because they don't have to include the license. And they figure that anybody that wants to spend more or has a dedicated theater will do Dirac.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's what they said.
Cool.
Here's a question I have about that, Ryan. I've read that too, but realistically, if they did a bulk license, maybe they'd have to upgrade the cost $100 on all the receivers instead of passing on a $350 receiver price upgrade to all their individual customers. Wouldn't it sort of make sense to just make the overall price of it $100? These numbers I'm pulling out of my rear end.
Might not, yeah,
but I'm just saying, like, like
makes sense.
when they buy it in bulk and every single processor they're selling has it, it's going to be cheaper than 10% of the users buying it. That's my question.
Possibly. I have no idea.
The whole situation. Yeah.
Big Jack, thoughts on using KEF R7 towers as wides in a 9.2.4 ref in-wall setup, leaning towards towers for proper toe-in? All in-wall except the towers?
As wides.
Wow. Towers as wides? That's a lot.
Hey, Tony does it.
I know, but Tony has
something's wrong with Tony
around
okay?
his house. I mean, that's literally, he's got in-wall setups except for tower wides.
I mean, I guess you could say if you have them, why not?
Wides don't do much good if they're in walls and you can't aim the tweeter or anything because they're way off axis.
That's a good point.
That's why he's saying use the R7s. R7. So they're about 2,500 each.
Do you have the R7s yet? I want to know what other speakers you have. I mean, you'd probably be just as well serviced by using Q350s. The bookshelves.
$5,000 for wides. That's
what I'm saying, man. Yeah, it's a big chunk.
I bought all the speakers in my room for $5,000.
What else we got?
I think that's it.
Every one of them?
We've reached the end.
Wow.
Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did.
If you're using a Trinod, the new waveforming technology will be based on a double base array. So you may want to look into that. Okay. So it wasn't really a question.
There's not much information out on that yet, though. I think it's a ways off, too.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one. Juan Hernandez, monitor audio bronze any good?
I don't know if I've heard a full monitor audio system in my travels.
The monitor audio stuff was at Exponent, and I wasn't blown away with it, but a lot of the stuff at Exponent wasn't properly set up.
Oh, dude, I'm down with this. Which of the three of you can do the most push-ups? I think I could do. All right, how many do you think you can do push-ups? I could probably do 50.
I think I could do 50 still.
Why do you look at me like that, Ryan?
In a row?
No, once a month. Yes, in a row. Yeah.
No. My arms are too long.
I wouldn't claim I could do more than 50, but I'm pretty sure I could do 52.
I think I can do 50.
Nope.
I mean, trust me, I'm dying, but I think I can do 50.
Nope. Not happening.
All right. So it's between me and Jonathan.
I'll freely admit it.
Right, so Jonathan, tonight,
see if we can do it.
I'll do my push-ups. We'll let him know next week.
Jonathan's going to go make sure see if he needs to clean the carpet again. Get his face right down in there.
Full extensions, baby.
All right. Here, this one kind of piques my interest. So he says 3 feet behind MLP.
Man.
It's wild, but move it closer and you'll know what wild is, because
put it right up next to your chair.
Come to life. Yeah.
And you're going to have your back realigned.
Explain that, Jonathan, for those that don't understand the logic there. What's the recommendation for near field subwoofers in proximity to where you're sitting?
So it's usually the diameter of the driver. So you got an 18-inch driver. For a true near field experience, it should be as close as possible, but within the 18 inches of driver diameter to your back. So, just put it up there as close as you possibly can. Just experience it, recalibrate it with the time alignment and stuff so you're not off on time, and then just give it a go. And you'll get a smile a mile wide, because that the acoustic energy off the driver is pummeling your back, and it's just so much more tactile the closer it is. Your surround probably has a couple inches of excursion. Make sure you're not hitting the surround on your couch, and just shove it up there as close as possible just to try it. It's worth a try.
Yeah. So I have a clarification. So in the past, we've talked about this a bunch, and I've even shared your recommendation of that. And somehow when I say it, it comes across, and maybe that's how I've said it, but that's not what I intended. And I've had people correct me in the comments. They're like, Michael, you keep saying this, and it's not. What I'm saying is, okay, if you have 18, make sure it's at least 18 or less.
Yes.
They were thinking it needs to be like a minimum of 8. I'm like, no, not that by all means. So just to clarify, you got an 18-inch, you don't want it any further than 18 inches from your back, basically.
Right.
And if you can get it closer, even better. So just to clarify. So I love this. So Mike Ortiz says, final day of M-Wave push-up competition, baby.
Oh. I'm doing the competition in my head. I've already lost.
Right.
It's over.
Ryan he'll be
Bruce says I have to give it a go. I've already done it in my head. It doesn't work. I always sucked it back. Dude, my arms are like way long.
Yeah.
Tall guys have problems with this stuff. Our arms are too long. It makes it really hard.
Jonathan, he's a big dude too, man. He's like 6'18".
6'18".
Just South Florida.
I used to be a gym rat. I'm not anymore. Now I'm just fat, but I used to be a gym rat. So really? I think some of that still holds over.
I was not.
Nice.
Nope.
So this guy, Bruce, is saying if you had a 3-seat couch and 2 near-field subs and you put them between the seats, would ruin the experience. Not ruin, but it would not be great for the 2 outside seats because your subwoofer you'd feel hitting you only on the left side or only on the right-hand side. And that you can absolutely feel where the subwoofer is coming from when it's right up against the seat. So your center seat would be okay and the other 2 not so much.
Nick Long, I'm thinking about buying an AVM 90 or an AV10, but I'm leaning toward the AVM 70 to possibly upgrade a pre-pro later that might have art and a 7 to 8K budget opinions.
Man, everybody I read that buys the AVM 70 or AVM 90 talks about bugs. I haven't had one personally, but I just read it over and over again.
Get it unboxed and tested.
Everybody that I've heard from the AV10 loves it.
Yeah.
I've heard 0 complaints about it.
But then again, go back to Marantz's history. I mean, typically they're rock solid, man. They don't have glitches. When they release a product, it's like, okay.
They've had there was some HDMI 2.1 problems.
But that everybody was having that though.
Yeah.
That was a universal problem everybody was having.
AV10 would be my recommendation because it's flexible. You got Odyssey, you got Dirac. Pretty sure you're going to have art. I mean, it's all in one package. That'd be what I would do. And if you want one, let me know.
Don't take our word for it, man. Nick, go to the AVS forum and look on the AVM 70 and AVM 90 thread and just read there a little bit. Like read the last 15 pages or something. Take an hour and read it. You're spending 7 or 8K. Make sure you know what you're getting.
Some homework. Yeah, that's true. Do some homework.
What about an infinite baffle sub attached to the back of the couch? Says
how are you going to have infinite baffle on the back of the couch?
I mean, maybe his couch is right up against a wall.
But then it's not
because it was 3 foot back in the last post from this guy. So no.
Oh, I didn't know we were talking about that same.
Yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's got
infinite baffle would need to have isolation. So the front and the back of the driver need to have isolation. So you would neither have a wall there. If you just have it like free air, it won't make hardly any sound at all. I mean, that's how I was doing the tactile transducers on my chairs, is free air. Big difference between IV and free air.
Yeah, infinite baffle, you would have like the front firing into your room and the back would be like in another room.
Yep.
So
something we need to test is have Doug build a Gallahorn for a near field.
There's a walkway behind the couch, he says.
Here's another alternative. SRW 1000 for 7,000 to 8,000. Look at the HTP1 from Emotiva. I'm not Emotiva, from Monoprice. And separate amps, direct now and art expecting in October.
But isn't that only a 16 channel amp?
After Storms.
Yeah.
I hadn't even heard that Monoprice was getting art. That's interesting.
I mean, it's only one of the other big advantages that the AV10 has is it's 15.4.
So it's like 19 channels.
Which may not sound like a lot, but when you start trying to upgrade and you're trying to get things, running out of channels can be a real pain in the butt.
Herc says he does have a walkway behind the couch, but I'm guessing that's totally not sealed off from your theater room, though. If it isn't, it's not.
Let's stop beating around the bush. We need to do sealed 24s for this.
Make it happen.
Okay, that's what needs to happen.
So SRW 1000 for the art that's expected in October. Is that? I haven't heard that. That's cool. I mean, I
haven't either.
I have a little bit of hesitancy there because they promised HDMI 2.1 for how long, and it's never happened, and it won't happen. It sounds like it's going to be a new model or something. It's kind of what we heard. So take that with a little grain of salt, maybe.
Johnny, what's up, guys? Just getting in. Took my granddaughter to see Little Mermaid. Good movie. I've heard it's supposed to be good. Question with the JVC NZ7: could I use a 175-inch 2.35 screen? Will it be enough light?
That's a big screen.
That's a big screen.
Yeah.
I think it could work if you're not a strict reference standard guy and you turn up what is the setting that they have now? They have that mode 3 that increases the overall brightness at the expense of some of the contrast. You'd have to do something like that.
But isn't that if you're using laser dimming?
No, I'm not talking about the laser dimming setting. There's like it's the tone mapping setting. There's like an auto wide or something, and then you could go to +2 or something on that too.
I know what you're talking about.
It raises the overall brightness of the whole image, including the black levels, which would kind of offset by the size of the screen. If you're not a strict stickler for reference, man, I think you could enjoy that.
Here's my worry with this though, is if you go to somebody's place that has a brighter image, you may ruin yourself.
No, because I've seen yours and I'm not ruined. I mean, you've got an NZ9. It's beautiful. It's bright. That is not my NX7. But I still walk into my theater room and I go, I'm not going after an NZ9.
I'm not saying he goes after an NZ9.
No, you said it'd ruin him.
Yes, but my recommendation was possibly going to be an LS12000.
But I'm just saying it's not going to ruin him if he sees somebody that has better.
It depends on the person. It would ruin me.
Yeah, it wouldn't ruin me. I've been to plenty of people that their home theaters sound, I don't say plenty, but I've heard home theaters and I'm like, yeah, theirs exceeds mine. But I don't go selling my stuff and going after theirs. Sometimes I think you struggle with being content, man.
There's a lot of people that struggle with that. I'm just putting that out there. That some people do, and I don't want anybody to go down that path. So what's the harm in being well informed?
I got you. Micro T's, if I want to add Boss platforms, should I consider near field subs over the Boss?
Yes.
My opinion, yeah.
Yeah, near field beats
Boss. I love near field, man. I'm telling you.
Boss is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more work.
I don't even like Boss.
No, you don't like Hover Boss.
I have experienced Hover Boss. I've experienced Boss. I've experienced Hover Boss, and I've experienced Hover Easy. And I don't like any.
Jonathan and I both have Boss.
It did. I don't have it anymore.
Loser.
Yeah.
It won't fit under these new chairs. I tried.
You have
to like the platforms.
Yeah, I don't like you're talking about like platform setups.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone in platforms, my brain knew there was something under me moving.
It feels like you're on a marshmallow bouncing around.
Yeah, it feels like you're driving a Abrams tank.
Yeah,
I did not like that.
I still laugh every time I see Sheldon's video with you going.
Yeah, it's a rush and it's crazy and it can be violent. There's no doubt. I mean, it is some massive tactile, but again, my brain always knew it was coming from below me, and it took me out of the experience every single time. And that's
some people love it. No. I cannot fault it completely because some people love it. It is just not my thing.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I'm not saying that no one should own it because there are a lot of people that they're like, Michael, I love it. Do it, man. That's awesome. It is not for me. And I've tried all three platforms. I've tried all three implementations. They're all a little different design philosophy, but Ryan's loser call outs are hilarious.
Just being honest, guys.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
These guys keep asking questions.
Yeah, man.
One last question. Is KLH speaker brand good?
The new one, I think, yeah. I mean, they're not amazing, but I reviewed them. My goodness, it's been 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. They're very budget friendly, so they weren't like not spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And for the cost perspective, I enjoyed them. You know, I didn't think they were like phenomenal, but yeah, I enjoyed them. So it really depends on your budget. So if you're looking for something that's now the old KLH, they've never really been known to make anything really that great. So
Baskar asks room size 22 by 14. Which size screen is suitable? and projector.
How far back are you going to be from the screen? That's usually the first question. Not so much how wide your room is and deep. There are recommendations online of certain angles, and my theater room breaks all those angles and those rules and suggestions. I'm 9 foot from 150 inch diagonal and 2.35 to 1 aspect ratio, and I love it. Is it too wide?
Big.
Could be. It could be. But I love it, man. It's completely immersive. Now can my peripheral see everything that's going on the screen? No, it can't. But I'm okay turning my eyeballs. I don't turn my head. I just turn my eyeballs, and I'm good. So, but
people need to remember that this hobby is very subjective, and what you like may not be what somebody else likes.
Yeah. The cool thing is, so here's a recommendation, and I did this with mine actually. I actually bought some like big white paper, stretched it across my. Basically,
you got that because your wife's a school teacher, didn't you?
I don't even remember where I got it. I think somebody had it at a church, like a PBS kind of deal. No, I did, and so I borrowed it. It might even been from my
I'm just imagining your wife going into the teacher break room and pulling this sheet out, and people are going, "Where are you going that? My husband needs it to figure out his projector for his home theater."
I think it was like 8 or 10 feet tall. It was huge, but I literally I probably have a picture of it. But shoot it up against your wall and then move, put it the size that you want, and then sit, watch some content, get a little closer, get further back, and you'll figure out like what your eyes like. Yes, you can go by the proper. I mean, when I'm looking at proper, that screen is too small to me. It doesn't feel immersive, and I want an immersive experience. That was one of the big things when I built my theater room. Plus, I've got a shorter room, so I don't have a whole lot to work with to be able to get 2 rows in there. But yeah, make it happen.
So suggestion is very dependent on budget. My budget option is usually Seymour screen. I mean, you could go more budget than Seymour screen, but I mean a screen that you'd never have to mess with again if you got it the appropriate size, and like a LS 12,000.
You guys, love it.
What?
I'm gonna show you. I found the picture. You think I'm kidding?
I didn't think you were kidding. I was just making fun of you.
I know it, and I'm gonna show you. So this was my old wrong one. Hang on. Don't be losing me. So this was before I had my. Oh no, maybe I had the new screen. All right, here it is.
My favorite thing is hearing Michael say he returned that. He I borrowed it. That means you returned
it. I rolled it back up because I borrowed it. I didn't write on it. I didn't doodle on it. I didn't make it.
Now I'm just imagining Michael taking that back to the school and putting it back on the roll.
It was already wrinkled, so I just stretched it out. But that's huge. Look at that. My ceilings are 10 foot tall, and that roll was like 10 foot. I'm like, this is perfect. But it gave me an idea because behind that screen is a 103-inch screen. And so I was contemplating, if I want to move up, how big can I get without it being too crazy? And so I ended up going with 150-inch. And what my buddy told me is, he said, Michael, think about this. You can always mask the image down and make it smaller if you need to, if you feel that you need to. But once you kind of buy a screen, you're stuck with it unless you want to buy another screen. And so I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I was going to show you the picture behind that. So that
for recommendation, I'd say Seymour AV screen and an LS 12,000 would be my budget recommendation if you're buying new gear.
Well, to what we're kind of saying here too, buy the projector first and then project it on the bare wall or a white sheet or a paper or whatever you can find, and you can get in a sense of the size you want. And very specifically, watch shaky cam movies like Jason Bourne or something, and get a perspective of how that kind of material looks, because that's the stuff that'll make you
see if you throw up.
Yeah, that's the stuff that'll make you uneasy if you're going to get uneasy.
I think
So
the
I'll show
other
you-
thing you need to consider is that make sure, however big you want the screen, that your projector at its mounting position has enough zoom.
That is true. Yeah, because I came really, really, really stupid close. Like, so
There's no way you were closer than I was. Or am.
Well, technically, I had to cheat to get it bigger. So.
Oh, you were under.
I was, yeah. And I can't physically move back any further. So there's that, and then this is what it looks like behind that. So that was my old front wall cabinet with a 103-inch screen.
That thing looks super wide, or is it just a fisheye or something?
I had a GoPro, probably. So yeah, it's probably a fisheye. Yeah. Yeah, some of my first videos, the home theater tours, it did. I don't know what happened, but GoPro eventually had a D fisheye tool plug-in.
Mm-hmm.
But before it had that, I was filming and it was like, I mean, it is massively wrapped around. It's the craziest thing. So yeah, so a lot of times I'd take pictures with that.
CJ asks, are SVS Ultra speakers any good? They will be at, or will the Primes?
Yeah, they'll have Prime. Yeah.
But SVS will be there.
Mm-hmm. Come hang out with us.
So I think they're great.
Pretty enjoyable. Yeah, I've heard them at a speaker meet. I thought they were good.
Mm-hmm.
Would you actually mask a 150-inch screen down to 120? Wouldn't that look like garbage? No. Why would it look like garbage?
No. Yeah.
If you have masking panels,
it'd be a lot of black masking inside that wooden cabinet, I think is what he's saying.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe he's talking about the image wouldn't change, but maybe the aesthetics of doing that. Bruce says I only probably with what you're suggesting, Michael, is when you first sit and look at a huge screen, it feels overwhelming. Mine never felt overwhelming. Like from the time that I turned it on, I'm like, this is exactly what I dreamed of. I mean, I never had any inclination and I think about it. I have people, not every week, but probably at least once a month, they'll message me like, hey, Michael, and I'm friends with them on Facebook. I'm vacationing in Florida and any chance? And I'm like, and so of course I stalk them on Facebook first. But a lot of times I'm like, all right, come on over. I've never once had somebody move from the front row to the back row ever, so I like it.
Eric asks, if not JTR, would you still be on Scalas?
Good question. So the one thing that the La Scalas never sounded great for, like when I listened to music, especially 2-channel music in there, for whatever reason, it just didn't sound great. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they're not well braced. Because when the La Scalas, when you tap on them, I mean, it's got some pretty major resonances in the cabinet. So it's not well braced. So I don't know if it had that to do with it. The other thing is the La Scalas, they definitely don't dig very deep. I think they're like 70 hertz. If I remember back when I was looking at something that PKW wrote, he said they were kind of effective down to about 70 hertz. So they don't dig, definitely near as low. I mean, now the 212 HTRs, they're only down to about 30, 35, but I'm handing all that off to the subs anyway. Could they have gotten replaced by another brand? Absolutely. And the biggest reason is, I mean, they were 40 years old. The only reason why I kept them, I bought them out of curiosity because everybody said, oh, La Scalas are amazing. And they are. The horn mid-range driver on that is beautiful. Really, really beautiful. But I'll be honest, the speakers are ugly. I mean, they look vintage. They look dated. And that was my biggest struggle. I had these brand new, I say brand new, but I had owned them from birth kind of thing. RF 83s, they're slim towers. They had the gold or the copper silver metallic woofers. They look beautiful, cherry wood finish. They're gorgeous. And then I got these La Scalas that look like I said, they just look vintage and dated. And I'm not into vintage stuff anyway. So, could something like a Rendell replace those? I don't know. If I heard them and they sounded better in my room, absolutely, I'd upgrade them to something else. But I just remember way back in the day, I reviewed the Captivator RS2s, and I'm like, I've never experienced bass like this in my room ever. And I've reviewed a bunch of subwoofers, and I just told Jeff, I said, man, I would love to hear your speakers. And he said, like, we can make that happen. So he flew me up there, and I heard 3 JTR systems, and I was blown away. And then I go up to, Kansas City. I hear some more JTR. I went up to Wisconsin, heard some more JTR. I'm like, man, yeah, that's exactly where I want to go with my theater room. So yeah, could it have been another brand? Absolutely, But for me, in my room, I don't see me going anywhere else than where I'm at right now. I'm totally satisfied.
Are there any other questions? There's one more. Hey guys, I have a Yamaha A6A connected via eARC to TV, and when I pause or stop, there's a loud click in the speakers. What can it be? Can damage them? Thanks.
Oh man, so you don't have an external amp. So it's happening internally in the A6A. I don't think it's good for your speakers. I mean, I don't know if it can necessarily damage them. Depends on how loud that pop is. Definitely not pleasing. That would frustrate me if every time it happened.
Sounds like the amps.
First question is, and it may not have any difference, but are you hooked up like through HDMI? Have you tried just to see if it happens using like a Toslink cable? That's not ideal, but just to see, okay, is it, because then that would maybe help narrow down like where's it coming from, so
try just using your optical cable.
That's what I'm saying. Toslink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I said.
God, do you even audio?
Sorry, I zoned out for a second.
Yeah, that was my first suggestion. Like, try that just to see. That's not ideal because you're not going to be able to, if you've got to
give Jonathan crap for his audio being behind when this started, and now his brain's behind.
Wow. Wow. Shots fired.
I admit I zoned out for a second.
It's all good, man. All right. Yes,
that's it.
I agree, Jonathan. I'm looking at your private chat. We are 2.5 hours into it, man. Jonathan, thanks for hanging out with us so long. You guys in the chat, you rock. Y'all had some awesome questions tonight. We're going to be at M-Wave in 31 days, guys. So come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can get all the details, tickets, and everything at MidwestAVExperience.com. Hope y'all have an incredible week.
The gear sheet, let's point people to the gear sheet for stuff that's being sold, the M-Wave demo stuff, go.
Oh, you didn't even tell me to do that.
I just did.
But I've been sending it to Patreon and to...
I know, but you can... The one that's on the website. It's on the website, isn't it?
No.
I thought you put it
on there, but it's like... It's hidden. It's hidden. Yes.
Oh.
You didn't tell me to do that.
Oh. Okay. Well, there'll be a spreadsheet here eventually on the website. The prices won't be listed, but there'll be M-Wave demos available.
I can share the link if you want me to. You didn't ask me to share.
Are the prices on it?
No.
Oh, yeah. Just share it.
You didn't say that.
I said don't share the prices.
You specifically told me. You said you can share it with your patrons and you can share it with the attendees. That's all that I heard. So that's all I shared it with.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
All right. So
I thought the agreement was that attendees get first dibs.
They do. Attendees and Patreons is what you had said. But let's see. So
no, you got to contact me.
What's that?
Actually, it's just playing roulette. You give me your credit card info and you just see what I charge.
All right. So I will drop it in here. So M-Wave demo / open box gear.
There'll be more stuff added to this as we get closer. Is only
you can check it out. MidwestAVExperience.com /4-sale.
So if you guys need stuff, send me an email. The email that's going to go up on screen here.
Did that post?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. It says an error occurred. Wait one moment.
No, I can see it.
Oh, it tried to post to your Facebook and said it failed.
But if you guys need anything, just send me an email and we'll try and work something out. How
Cool,
good is
man.
the security at M-Wave? There is on-site security, and then all of the doors have code locks. So this is the Kansas City Convention Center. I mean, this isn't their first rodeo with people leaving stuff. I mean, there's no problem with this.
And you had to buy
things.
insurance too, didn't you? If I
Oh
recall
yeah,
correctly?
there's event
Just,
insurance. I've got an umbrella
insurance?
policy. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah. There's good deals though. So definitely.
Look at this poor guy. He's gonna have to build a bridge over his walkway so he can try near field.
This is the place. This is the place of home theater ruin, where we send people home ruined.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. Send us a picture.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Cool, man.
Welcome to my home theater. Here's my drawbridge. Pay no mind to the troll JTR underneath.
Oh,
that'd be the first one. I haven't seen that yet. Too funny. All right, guys. I hope y'all have a great week. Hope you come and hang out with us at M-Wave. Check out the list of items there. And we'll catch you next week. Next week, we'll let you know. Jonathan, how many push-ups you got tonight? I'll go hit my push-ups as soon as we're done.
Not even
have a great
trying.
week, guys. Huh? You'll just keep score, right, Ryan?
No.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great night.